Good evening. I'm John Wensky, Chairperson of the Shrewsbury School Committee, and welcome to our meeting for Wednesday, May 26, 2021. Tonight's meeting is being broadcast live on Selco channels 29 and 329 and streamed live on Shrewsbury Media Connections website. Thank you to SMC Executive Director Mark Serra and Liz Poplowski, as well as SPS IT Director Brian LaRue for supporting these meetings. Tonight's meeting will be rebroadcast between now and our next scheduled meeting on Wednesday, June 9th. Our first order of business is public participation. Tonight, nobody has expressed an interest in addressing the committee. However, in the future, if anyone wishes to participate in this portion of our meeting, they should contact the chairperson prior to the beginning of the meeting. Once recognized, speakers may have up to 3 minutes to present their material. The committee will also review and consider written comments which may be presented to us before or after meetings. The next item on our agenda is chairpersons and members' reports. Colleagues, anything to share this week?
Yep.
Okay, great. And then the next item on our agenda is superintendent's report. Dr. Sawyer.
Thank you, Mr. Wensky. I do want to let the community know we have publicized that we are having a community exchange using the Thought Exchange software program regarding the question of the Shrewsbury High School mascot. Earlier in the school year, the school committee received a petition requesting to change the mascot and a counter petition asking to keep it. There was an ad hoc study group established with current high school students, current high school faculty, and other staff, high school parents, and alumni. That has been meeting throughout the year, and the study group was committed to asking the community to share its thinking about the issue. The links are available on our social media, as well as was sent out by email, and it has been shared by the alumni through their social media as well. When people log on, there is a summary document that provides some information about reasons that have been given for changing or updating or keeping the mascot. I do ask, the vast majority of people who have participated very respectfully. There have been some who have not. The software does filter out comments on its own, and plus people can report a comment if they feel it's inappropriate, and then it is further moderated. And we're trying to model, of course, for the community that we can have a thoughtful approach to this under a very divisive issue that many people disagree on the particulars of. As far as timing going forward, the study group is going to be meeting again next week. It is scheduled to present a report and recommendation to the school committee at your June 9th meeting. The following week, and June 16th, will be an opportunity for the school committee to have any other additional questions and hear any other public comment. And then we are having a meeting on Wednesday, June 23rd. That's a new added date when the school committee, if it wished to take any action, may do so at that time. Obviously, it's up to the school committee, but that's a suggested timeline regarding this issue. So I wanted to make people, the public, aware of that. And that we have lots of students to celebrate this evening. We're looking forward to that, and that is the superintendent's report this evening.
Great, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is a time scheduled appointment. Dr. Sawyer will provide us with an update on the school district's response to the pandemic and reopening for in-person learning. Dr. Sawyer.
Well, we're shifting gears. I'm not going to be presenting any slides this evening.
Yep.
The information is fairly simple. Certainly, again, we've focused very much this year on promoting health and well-being first and foremost, focusing on trying to make sure that our students' academic preparation is as strong as possible despite the circumstances, and that I think our district has done a very good job of both of those things. It has been wonderful to be back full-time in school now since the beginning of April for our elementary students, not long after, next week for our 5th and 6th grade, after the April break for our middle schoolers in 7th and 8th grade, and then the high school following after that. It has been wonderful to have students back on that regular 5-day-a-week schedule, and appreciate all the hard work that happened to make that possible. We're working towards the successful end of the school year. The good news is statistics remain very, very strong. We've had 0 positive cases the last couple of weeks with our surveillance testing. We've had actually 1 positive case that was a high school member of the high school community. Last week, there have been no additional cases to date this week. So going back on a 4 week, we had 7 cases at the end of April that last week. And in May, we've had 2 cases, 3 cases, 1 case, and so far this week, 0 cases. So the number of cases is really diminished to a de minimis level, which is excellent news. We know, I do not have the statistic with me, but I know that we can, through our public health system that connects to our nurses' medical record system, that a significant number of high school students have received the vaccine. And now, I think as of end of last week, about 25% of our 7th and 8th graders had also received at least 1 shot. Then once they opened it up to 12 and older. We'll send out some information about this. We are going to host a vaccine clinic on Saturday, June 5th is the target date. We're finalizing some details with that. It will likely be in the Oak Middle School parking lot, and it'll be provided through a partner that the state is partnering with. So we'll communicate that for any. I know that vaccines become more and more widely available at pharmacies and at the different state sites, but we want to provide a convenient opportunity for families in Shrewsbury, anyone age 12 and up. So we'll be sending out information about that as soon as the details are firmed up. But I think the vaccination rates are very high, case counts are very low, and the other news that for those who may not receive communications from the parent community, last week we connected with the new guidance from the state. Our students, when they're outside now, do not wear masks. They're able to play at recess, participate in physical education. They can have outdoor instruction if they're out under one of the tents with one of the teachers having class. They can be unmasked outside. Our athletes can also be, who are participating in outdoor sports in the spring, also do not have to wear a mask any longer while they're playing. Adults can be unmasked outside if they're more than 6 feet apart from others. However, indoors, the state regulations remain that staff and students are expected to wear masks, as we are this evening, indoors. And that has been another welcome sign that the pandemic is abating. We're hoping to continue to see these excellent results as far as the case counts, and we are looking forward to a strong finish to the school year. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the school committee has.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Sawyer. Colleagues, any questions or comments?
What are the plans for offering routine testing of the students going forward? Is that indefinite, or is there an end in sight?
No, thank you. And in terms of, we have a couple more weeks of testing. We're not going to test the last week of school. We're actually wrapping up using the provider that we're currently engaged with. We are shifting gears then. If we determine that we'll continue the testing in the summer, right now we're planning as if we will for our summer program. We are going to switch to a different vendor that is funded entirely through the state. That is a vendor we feel is a reasonable program that we can work with. We would then expect to continue with that vendor in the fall if it's believed that the surveillance testing is still worth the time and effort. It would be the states providing the funding for that in the fall as well. So right now we're planning as if we will be doing that. If the state changes its guidance or we feel it's not necessary, it will not be any more of there will be no financial commitment from us because the state is picking up the tab at this point. And I want to make sure I'm not misspeaking, so Mr. Collins, in terms of that program. How long is the state committed to picking up the cost?
The only thing that I would just add briefly is that I was on a webinar today with the Department of Education to talk about their testing program, and that they did announce that they were committing to continued funding through the upcoming school year, and that they were using federal coronavirus relief funds to do that. And then just dependent upon how many school districts participate will determine how long they run the program. But they felt like there was value, and so it looks positive and optimistic that we would continue surveillance testing into the fall.
Okay.
At this particular point. funded by the state.
Just a follow-up, and that is, does the new vendor require resampling if there's a positive for the class, or is the new vendor operating like?
No, it's the same reflex testing, which was important to us, that we didn't have to wait longer or have kids excluded while we were waiting for
Okay.
that, so that's the same. One key difference is that instead of it being a shallow nasal swab, it will be a saliva test. But that's really the only key difference, I think, that people will experience.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments? No? Great. Thank you very much. Our next time schedule appointment is recognition for speech and debate state and national champions. Shrewsbury High School speech and debate team under the direction of Coach Mark Riccitelli. They're enjoying another highly successful year. Tonight, the committee will recognize several state and national champions. Here to do that is Mr. Todd Bazidlo, principal of Shrewsbury High School, and Coach Mark Riccitelli. Coach Riccitelli, you want to introduce us to the team?
So let's see if we have these folks online. Are they all there, Brian?
They're there.
Terrific.
There we go.
Awesome.
They're here.
Excellent.
Well, thank you. Todd, do you want to go? Follow me? I was going to say thanks to the committee and thanks to you, Coach, for your dedicated service to our speech and debate team. It truly is a testament to your commitment to our students and our school. So thank you once again for leading us through a great season, and I appreciate Superintendent Sawyer and the school committee inviting you and your team here tonight to be recognized for the accomplishments. So now, Coach, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I always appreciate being invited. It means we have had a successful year, so it's always good to be back on an annual basis if we can be. And before I forget, I just want to thank all of the assistant coaches that we have, because we have so many students on this team, to give the opportunity to as many students as we possibly can. We couldn't do it without the dedicated assistant coaches that we have, and there's too many of them to name. We have alumni that come back, parents, and just people that have been around for years. And it really is appreciated. Just like everyone else, it was a year like none other for us, but we are very lucky that our program was allowed to continue on an online format. And we, for the most part, continued without a hitch and had some success. The young ladies that I introduced to you tonight, first we have Dikshita Saram, who I haven't actually met in person. She's a freshman, and as a freshman, she is the Massachusetts state champion in Big Questions Debate. Big Questions Debate is the newest format of debate sponsored by the National Speech and Debate Association under a grant from the John Templeton Foundation. And because of Dikshita's championship, as well as Senior Bassam Naeem's semifinalist placement, the team actually earned $500 from that state final as a grant from the Templeton Foundation. This year's topic, and I'll let Dikshita talk to you more about that, was mathematics was discovered, not invented. And the resolutions that they put forth in this category are meant to be things that can be debated around both philosophy, science, religion, and anything that a student wants to use to put their case and arguments together on each side. Next, we have Rithika Prasad. Rithika is a junior, rising senior. She is the state champion in extemporaneous speaking. She is one of the captains of the team and will continue in that position next year. She's had great success on many national circuits, tournaments in extemporaneous speaking. She'll be attending both NCFL and NSDA nationals over the next month. I'll let her talk to you about if she remembers what her final round question was. But in extemporaneous speaking, students have 30 minutes of prep time to prepare a 7-minute speech that answers the question on some area of current events. I think she likes when she gets the questions I write the most, but she can tell you if that's true or not. Next is Shalini Bijou. Shalini is a sophomore. She has a unique and tremendous accomplishment this year of being a dual state champion in both informative speaking and original oratory. She's also attending both NCFL and NSDA Nationals in the coming month. And I'll let her speak to what her topic areas and speeches were in both of those categories. And then finally, we have Ria Kansra, also a rising senior. She was captain of the team this year and is the incoming team president for our next year's season. Our elections were earlier, I guess last week. Ria is our team's first ever National Tournament of Champions champion in humorous interpretation. The Tournament of Champions national tournament is sponsored by the University of Kentucky. It is considered one of the most prestigious national tournaments because in order to get there, you have to have already had success on various qualifying levels throughout the season. One of those I know for Ria was that she was a finalist at the Harvard National Tournament earlier in the season. And again, I'll let Ria talk to you about her humorous interp piece when she gets a chance to talk. But one thing that did happen at the end of last week, I received, not uncommon, but a huge package delivered from Amazon. And it is one of the biggest trophies I think I've ever seen that Ria hasn't even seen yet. But this is the bottom part, Ria, and then we keep going. We get to the top, and I put Smiley on here. Whoops, there goes. Go Woo Sox. But because it's sponsored by the University of Kentucky, we've got a nice little horse on the top. So I will get that to you at our awards ceremony in a couple of weeks. And with that, I will turn it over to any questions for the girls.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Coach, and congratulations, team. Any questions or comments from the committee? Ms. Fritz?
I have a question for Mr. Riccitelli. Actually, I had asked you while I should let the community know, Mr. Riccitelli always emails us with all the results, which is great that we get that and we can see what the team is doing, and it's impressive. This is a frequent flyer group for sure. But Mark, if you could let everybody know, and I had asked you, what was the difference this year? Because this was a very different year, and your team still is extremely successful in a very different environment.
They were. I mean, they adapted extremely well. Our newest members are going to have to adapt in the future to live events, so we'll be doing that in the future. But it was we were lucky in that our state league came together early or late in the season last year to put together a state tournament online when most other states just ended. So our state was actually the blueprint for the rest of the country in getting an online tournament set up. We'd already used a computer program for tabulating and running our tournaments and had recently started to online ballots. Even within a school, judges can submit their ballots online. So it really was just incorporating the platform for video in order to make it work. But I will tell you, it was tough to teach this old dog new tricks. It's been an exhausting year. But luckily the kids are resilient and they were able to pull it off and we still had great success.
Great, thank you.
And I always appreciate the school committee and the administration's support of the team. It means a tremendous lot to me as well as the students.
Ms. Heffernan?
Yeah, to all of the participants, I just really want to say a huge congratulations. It is incredibly impressive what you do, and there are many things that are explained here that I really don't understand about the competitions themselves and the limited amount of time that you have to prepare. But I am very curious about humorous interpretation. Tell me a little more, if you wouldn't mind. Is it Ria? What was that?
I will try to summarize it, but humorous interpretations is a category in which you have 10 minutes and you present some sort of story. The only catch is that you have to be funny. Being funny is something that I am not naturally good at, so it took a lot of practice. But through the support of my peers, including Rithika and Mark, I was able to be successful in that event. It's pretty hard being a girl in humorous interpretation because it's a very male-dominated event. So I am eternally lucky to be able to watch other female competitors along with myself break glass ceilings.
That is awesome. I can't help but notice that the four who are with us tonight are all females. I wish you all a lot of success. I hope for many of you we're going to see you back here again, and that you stick with this. But thank you so much for spending your evening with us.
Thank you. Colleagues, any other? Jason? Yeah.
Just to make the same comment that I make every year in my compliments to Mark and the assistant coaches and the team. For those folks in the community who don't know, our Shrewsbury High School students perform very well in speech and debate as a co-curricular activity, but they're regularly competing against students from elite private institutions who have speech and debate as a class, as part of their regular academic coursework. And we are not only competing with them, but regularly beating them. So my continued compliments to the team. Not that it's about winning.
Some of our students go on to do great things, right, Jason?
So, not that it's about winning, Mark, but you certainly do a lot of that.
Great. Well,
I'm not getting older, you're getting older.
Right.
Well, congratulations to you all. I just have to say, really proud of the accomplishments of the state and national championships, but also what you've done throughout the entire year. I'm a big fan of Coach Richardelli's emails, as I, replied to all the time, and just very impressive. Every year, there's just some outstanding results from this team, and to see the resiliency throughout this year of virtual speech and debate has been very impressive. Also think you need a wide-angle lens for that trophy, the next time you show it on camera. But congratulations to you all, and I'll hand it over to Dr. Sawyer for additional comments.
Thank you, and really appreciate you being able to be with us this evening. And again, congratulations on the success of the whole program. To Coach Richardelli, we could not be more proud as a school community of Rithika and Shalini, Ria and Dikshita. I'm wondering, we heard a little bit from Ria about humorous interpretation. I'm hoping that the other champions here could maybe share a little bit about what your event is like, so that the people watching at home get a sense of what you were required to do, and because certainly it's incredibly impressive. Maybe if we started with Rithika, and we can go right through.
So I compete in the category of extemporaneous speaking, and basically it requires you to keep up with the news a lot, like every single day, and you draw a question which usually is centered around the economy, politics, international affairs. The list goes on, and you have 30 minutes to research that question and prepare a 7-minute speech, which you then deliver to the judge in hopes of persuading them that the answer to your question is right, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, but yeah.
Terrific, thank you. And how about Shalini, how about your piece?
Yeah, so I compete in original oratory and informative speaking. So those are the two speech events where you have to write your own speech. So in original oratory, in 10 minutes, you're supposed to convince the judge of a viewpoint. And in informative speaking, your goal is to purely inform the judge of an important topic. So this year, my original oratory is on female empowerment in businesses and how we don't empower women enough in the professional field. And my informative speaking is about fast food and the fast food crisis and how it incorporates to the obesity crisis in America.
Thank you. And again, just remarkable that you're the state champion in both of those categories. So congratulations again. And Dikshita, how about your category? You can explain that a bit for the audience.
Yeah, sure. So I do big questions debate, which is a debate category where we, debate big questions. And this year, like Mark said, the topic was whether mathematics was discovered or invented. And the thing with these topics is that they're questions that truly don't really have one specific answer. And I think that's why it's so fun to debate about it.
No, that's outstanding. And maybe just to open it up to all of you, I'm very curious as to, I think I can make some connections, but in terms of how you think the work and the lots of hard work you're putting into preparing for these things and the skills that you're developing, how you think they help you either with school now or how you anticipate they're going to help you in the future beyond Shrewsbury High School when you move into higher education and into whatever profession you decide to choose. What are some of the things that are really meaningful to you? Take it away, Rhea, go ahead.
Well, I think all of us can agree that speech and debate has made us confident individuals. And I use speech and debate in my everyday life. I mean, I'm known as like a very talkative person, and that really gets across when you have to do important things, whether it's class presentations. And I also know that in college, my job, in the future, I'm going to be able to represent myself to the best of my ability, which puts me on the best footing forward. And it is the single best thing about Shrewsbury High School that I've found myself doing, and it has taught me more than any education ever will.
Yeah, adding on to Rhea, like in 6th grade, I would like never like raise my hand in class. I'd always be in the back of the classroom. I had very low grades in participation, which is why my parents put me in speech and debate. But speech has really just made me a more confident individual. It allows me to express my opinions, especially in STEM, where we have such controversial questions. It really allows me to, as a teenager, it's hard for people to listen to you, but in speech and debate, you have a platform to share your voice and what you believe in. So it just gives me a platform to express my feelings. That's something that I'm truly very grateful for, and I will carry that just beyond speech and debate and like into the professional world.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like it's super important that you have a platform, like Rithika said, to talk about your ideas, and even like doing research into these like important issues has taught me so much research-wise and how to like carry myself, and I found myself just being so much more confident in my voice and in my personality.
Yeah, and also going back to what Rhea said, it also helps with simpler things that you wouldn't think about, like school presentations as well. And like Rithika and Shalini were both saying, speech and debate has given me a platform that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise.
Well, that's a lot of really makes us feel very good about the fact that you're having that experience. I'm sure it makes your coach, Mr. Rishatelli, very proud as well. And it's really wonderful to know that you're getting all of these benefits from participating in the program, along with all of your teammates. And I know the team had a very strong season as well overall, which is wonderful. And again, overcoming all the challenges of having to do this through Zoom. But it's incredibly impressive. I don't know how many of you have decided what profession you want to pursue. Please consider pursuing becoming an educator in the Shrewsbury Public Schools, because we need outstanding people like you teaching our kids in the future. But whatever it is you pursue, I'm very confident that you'll be successful at it, and I know that your speech and debate experiences will certainly contribute a great deal to that. So thanks for being with us this evening. If this were normal times, we'd have you come up and shake the committee's hand and receive a certificate as a token of our appreciation. We will make sure you get some certificates, but we'll just at this point have to virtually thank you and really appreciate you coming this evening and letting the community know all about your achievements. We had the opportunity to honor them. So congratulations again, and best wishes for your continued success.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, the next item on our agenda is another time-scheduled appointment, staying with the topic of student recognition with the Shrewsbury High School senior scholars. Each year, the school committee recognizes the 10 senior students with the highest grade point averages in their class. This year, 11 students will be recognized due to a tie in grade point averages. A brief biographical sketch of each is provided in the enclosed report, and the senior scholars will be introduced in alphabetical order and will briefly comment on their school experience. Here to present is Dr. Sawyer and Principal Todd Bazidlo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wensky. And this is, I mean, you just saw 4 incredibly impressive Shrewsbury students, and here you're going to now experience another 11 extremely impressive young people. That it is a privilege that we have as our students in Shrewsbury Public Schools at Shrewsbury High School. What I will do here, these are the, for those watching, these are the top 11 ranked students in the Shrewsbury High School class of 2021. We typically honor the top 10 ranked, but we did have a tie, so we have 11 students we're honoring. We are going to honor them in alphabetical order. All of them, just to have a grade point average this high, are equally worthy of celebration this evening. And what I will do is, as Mr. Wensky mentioned, in alphabetical order, I will read a little blurb about that student's accomplishments, and then that student will have an opportunity to share some brief thoughts with the committee. So we will move right into that, and let me get to the right place here on my document, and we'll begin with, let's see, Rita Alam. So Rita is an exceptional student, and by the way, these are blurbs that were created by their school counselors, and so they know them better than I do, so I'm going to read verbatim what they had to say. Rita is an exceptional student whose drive and perseverance for learning and bringing communities together have led her to many academic and extracurricular achievements. She attributes many of her accomplishments in high school to the meaningful relationships she's built throughout her time at Shrewsbury High School. She credits her teachers who provided her with copious opportunities to showcase her skills while growing into a stronger and more independent student. Some of her accomplishments throughout high school include Treasurer of the Asian Culture Club, President of the Calligraphy Club, Member of the National Latin Honor Society, Humans of Shrewsbury, Helping Hands, and Cultural Immersion Planning Committee, the Elementary and Middle School Summer Enrichment Program as a volunteer, 300 hours of community volunteer service at local farmers markets, and more. Rita plans to live her life without regret and will allow her experience to teach her how to grow and bounce back. She is committed to the University of Massachusetts Amherst for the fall, where she will major in biology in the hopes of becoming a future OBGYN. So Rita, go ahead and share your comments.
First off, I would like to thank my mom and my dad for their unconditional love and support. They have simultaneously been my biggest cheerleaders as well as my harshest critics, but you know, all in good fun. I would also like to thank my brother and my sister, mostly for being the comic relief in my life in these 4 years of high school, but also because as their older sister, I know they look up to me, and it really pushes me to try my best and strive for the highest achievements I possibly can, so that there's some basis to back up what they are looking up to. Also, there are a few staff members that I would like to thank. One of them being my guidance counselor, which is very nice of her to put that blurb together for me. Mrs. Vega and I have only been in connection for the past 2 years or so because my guidance counselor swapped halfway through my high school career. I was pretty nervous that I wouldn't be able to form a really strong connection with my new guidance counselor because I really thought that the time, effort, and involvement would be more important than the actual connection. But that was totally proved wrong. Mrs. Vega and I became really close when we were planning cultural immersion night. Never ended up taking off because of the pandemic, but the effort was there, and we both had to work together so hard, and we were both very passionate about cultural immersion night, and it just made me feel so heard because we both were able to share our voices, and it did not feel like I was doing this by myself. I definitely felt like I had people backing me up. Another staff member I would like to thank is Mrs. Canny. She was my junior year AP biology teacher. I just love that woman, like so much. She really has just such a way with teaching. I want to major in biology, as Dr. Sawyer had said, and that class for sure helped me make that decision. It was just, I don't know, Mrs. Canny has such a way with her students, and I really do feel like I have made such a strong connection with her. The last teacher I would like to thank or acknowledge is Doc T. She has been my Latin teacher, and I'm fortunate enough to have had her all 4 years of high school. Doc T and I have had many conversations on very deep things, from race involvement to colorism to religion, and it's just so nice because aside from Latin, I love the language, and that's definitely because of her. all those discussions really showed me that there are people who care in the school, and there are staff members that are listening to you and to your problems and willing to learn. And it's just so nice because that environment was very important for me to strive as a student, and Shrewsbury High School has definitely given me that through all of the opportunities and all of the teachers that I've met in my high school career.
Thank you so much. The next student that we're going to honor this evening is Divya Raghunathan. Divya is a driven young woman who's had an incredible 4 years at Shrewsbury High School. She's been a member of the speech and debate team throughout high school and has loved that experience. She was also a national qualifier for the NCFL Grand National Tournament for speech and debate the past 2 years. She's excelled in her academics. She's earned membership in the National, Math, English, French, and Tri-M Music Honor Societies. Some of her proudest accomplishments include receiving the Service Recognition Award the past 2 years and being named a silver medalist in the National French exam. Divya will be attending the University of Connecticut this fall, where she plans to major in Allied Health Sciences on a pre-medicine track. Divya. Hope, I think you might be muted. We'll give it a moment here and we'll get her online.
Hi, sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yes, all set.
Sorry, just had some technical difficulties. But hi everyone, I wanted to start off by saying thank you to Dr. Sawyer, Mr. Bazidlo, and the school committee for having me here tonight. I am so honored to be here, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank some members of the Shrewsbury community who have shaped me into the person I am today. First off, I just want to say it's been an interesting year. 2 years ago, if you told me that I'd be spending my senior year in the midst of a global pandemic, I would have said you were crazy. But if there's anything these past few months have proven to me, it's how committed and flexible our teachers in the Shrewsbury Public School system are. That being said, I'd like to recognize a few teachers that have especially impacted me during my time in Shrewsbury. Firstly, to my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Finneran, for constantly reminding me of my capabilities and showing me what it means to go above and beyond. Next, starting from 5th grade onwards, thank you to Mr. Laporto for being one of the most understanding, dedicated teachers I have ever had. And for my final years in Shrewsbury Public Schools, I'd like to thank Mrs. Pryor, my pre-calculus and BC calculus teacher, and Mrs. Gray, my AP psychology teacher, for being so passionate not only about the subjects they teach, but also the students they mentor. Thank you for putting up with our classroom antiques, which may or may not have involved requests to play on the Little Colonials playground, while also still helping us grow as students and individuals. I am amazed and inspired by the work that these teachers put in every single day. Finally, I'd like to thank my family. To my mom for constantly pushing me to not just become a better student, but also a better person. To my dad, who has always believed in me more than I have believed in myself. And to my brother, who reminds me that there is such a thing as overstudying. I wouldn't be where I am today without my family. Once again, thank you for this opportunity, and I'll miss the Shrewsbury community that I have been a part of here for the past 18 years.
Thank you so much, Divya. Our next student is Frances Crosby. Frances is a truly remarkable young woman who's had an amazing 4 years in and out of the classroom at Shrewsbury High School. One of her greatest highlights of her high school career is her passion for the performing arts. She's been a member of the SHS Honors Wind Ensemble for all 4 years of high school, while holding the positions of first oboe and first chair. She was accepted into the 2020 Central Mass District Music Festival as a member of the concert band. Frances has also earned her membership in the National, French, English, and Tri-M Honor Societies. She is passionate about her studies and has even found great joy in tutoring peers in French. Frances will be attending Mount Holyoke College this fall and is planning to major in psychology. Frances.
Thank you so much. Firstly, I would just also like to start off by thanking my parents for their unconditional support throughout everything that I've gone through, and for always really instilling in me the idea that I can accomplish anything that I put my mind to. So thank you to my mom and dad for always giving me the best advice and for always being more than happy to proofread all of my many essays that I've written over the course of my time in the Shrewsbury schools. I would also like to thank Mr. Laporto, as Nvidia did. I have had him as a band director for 6 years, both in 5th and 6th grade and throughout high school. And he has just been an incredibly just passionate, supportive teacher who has really helped me to gain confidence in my musical abilities as well as my myself in general. So thank you, Mr. Laporto, and I think that definitely the amazing performance arts department at SHS is absolutely going to be one of the things that I miss the most. I would also like to thank my 8th grade English teacher, Mr. Pizzuto, who really challenged me, but absolutely set me up for success in high school level English classes and really helped me to develop a love and appreciation for literature, which I'm just so grateful for. So thank you, Mr. Pizzuto. And going all the way back to 5th grade, which is when I moved to Shrewsbury, I would like to thank my 5th grade math and science teacher, Ms. Gooley, who was just incredibly supportive. She was a wonderful teacher, and just the wonderfully supportive and welcoming environment that she created really helped me in that kind of transition period in my life. So thank you, Ms. Gooley, and thank you so much to all of the amazing teachers, passionate teachers in the Shrewsbury school system. I'm going to miss all of you, and thank you so much for everything that you've done for me and for all of your other students.
Thank you so much, Frances. Our next student is Usherwad Djochek. Usherwad has had an outstanding 4 years at Shrewsbury High School in and out of the classroom. He's challenged himself each year with a demanding course schedule and excelled in all areas. Through his success in the classroom, he's been able to become a member of the Math, French, and National Honor Societies. He served as the treasurer for the Math National Honor Society and tutored fellow peers on the side in all subject areas. He has always been passionate about his academics, wants to help other students reach their full potential. Some of his proudest recognitions over the years have been receiving the AP Scholar Award and being named a National Merit Finalist. Usherwad will be attending the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign this fall with plans to major in computer science. Usherwad.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sawyer. I'd like to start by thanking my parents. I'd like to thank my mom for always motivating me to do my best in everything that I do, from academics to just my life in general, and making sure that I follow a good routine and really stay true to myself and stay motivated in my daily life. And also I'd like to thank my dad for always helping me manage my time in school. He was one of the people who really helped me get around high school and really get through all the tasks I had to do, stay up late with me to work on assignments along with my mom. And he really helped me get through all the stuff that I had to do and helped me build habits that will help me in the future as well. I'd also like to thank my brother, my younger brother, who was always just a supportive, loving, kind brother. And he really helped me get through high school as well by always being there when I wanted someone to talk to, someone to just hang out with at home. So I'd like to thank him. And also for some teachers, I'd like to start by thanking Mr. Pizzuto, like Francis did, from 8th grade. He was my English teacher, and he really helped me really develop my English skills and also my work habits and life skills in general. I think he was one of the most challenging teachers I've had throughout my entire 12 years of high school. And while this seemed tough at the time, it really helped me now, and I'm remembering that I still use many of the techniques today that he had taught me back in 8th grade. Also, I'd like to thank my counselor, my guidance counselor, Mr. Flynn, because he really helped me throughout the college application process really wrapping my head around how it works, how I can stay proactive, get ahead of everything, and also just in general throughout high school, just keeping track of what I'm doing and getting involved in the school environment and activities. And I'd like to thank him. And finally, I'd like to thank my science teacher for 2 years in chemistry, Miss Cuddy, for always just being a great teacher, very energetic, very passionate about what she does. And she was one of the reasons why I decided to pursue a STEM career in college because of the stuff that I learned in her class and how I really learned STEM could be used in general. So overall, I'd like to thank all of the teachers that I've had throughout my experience. The teachers, staff, and everyone at Shrewsbury has really been very helpful to me during this time.
Excellent. Thank you, Usherwad. Our next student is Alyssa Guo. Alyssa is a truly remarkable young woman who embraces every challenge she's faced with. She has a true passion for learning. She has earned awards for her piano performances at Music Worcester and the New England Piano Teachers Association. She's a U.S. figure skating gold medalist. She's part of the Massachusetts All-State Orchestra as a violinist. Alyssa is a National Merit recipient, a member of the National Honor Society, National Math Honor Society, National Spanish Honor Society, and Tri-M Music Honor Society. Alyssa serves as a role model in every aspect of her life and will continue to leave a positive mark upon our world. She'll be attending Stanford University next fall with a major in chemistry on a pre-med track. Alyssa.
Thank you, Dr. Sawyer, for the kind introduction. First, I'd like to thank the school committee and Dr. Sawyer for all of their hard work, particularly during this difficult year. Your dedication to our schools has really allowed me and my classmates to continue our learning even in this unfamiliar environment, and I truly appreciate all of your effort in making this school year possible. I'd also like to thank Mr. Bazidlo and all the administrators at the high school for creating such a positive school environment over the last 4 years. The warm atmosphere at SHS has really shaped me into who I am today, and I've always felt supported in all of my pursuits, whether it's playing in orchestra or participating in math meets or looking for any other way to expand myself extracurricularly. I also want to thank all the teachers in the Shrewsbury Public School system for guiding me throughout my academic career. From first grade at Floral Street School to my senior year, my teachers have really fostered my love for learning and been instrumental in my growth as a person. In particular, I want to thank Mr. Collins, my calculus teacher, Mrs. Moynihan, my chemistry teacher, and Mrs. Mercadante, my orchestra director, for all of their support and guidance. The memories they have made with me and the inspiration they have given me will stay with me for the rest of my life. And last but not least, I'd like to thank my family, my mom, my dad, and my brother Ethan. Thank you for driving me to practices and competitions, for attending all of my performances, and for all of the support and encouragement you have given me. I would not be who I am today without you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. Next, we have Arian Kale. Arian's an outstanding young man who shows curiosity and an eagerness to learn. He's taken a very challenging curriculum throughout high school, both in school and outside of school, earning straight A's. His hard work and perseverance truly help him excel. He's also earned perfect scores in his standardized subject tests, earning an 800 in Math 2 and an 800 in Chemistry. He's a member of the Math National Honor Society and the Spanish National Honor Society. He is said to be a natural leader. He holds multiple leadership positions at our school, including captain of the varsity tennis team, president of the Math National Honor Society, and vice president of the Spanish National Honor Society. He is respected by his peers and adults alike. He's also an MVP, Mentor Volunteer Program Leader, and he's shown strong character and is a strong role model for the underclassmen. Arian will be majoring in computer science next year at Northeastern University. Arian.
Thank you, Dr. Sawyer. It's truly an honor to be a senior scholar. Back when my brother was in high school, I was always in office, in awe of senior scholars and how impressive their accomplishments were, so it's really humbling to be here speaking to you all today. I wanted to start out by saying a big thank you to my family. My mom, my dad, and my brother always pushed me to be the best version of myself. They made countless sacrifices for me and mean the world to me, so this couldn't be possible without them. Thank you to the Shrewsbury School Committee. They've created an academic environment at every single Shrewsbury public school that fosters excellent learning and maintains very high standards. Also, thank you to Dr. Sawyer, who's done such a fantastic job with education in Shrewsbury and makes the necessary tough calls. Thank you to everyone in the Shrewsbury public school system. Ever since I started attending Shrewsbury public schools in second grade, I've had nothing but fantastic experiences. I'd like to give a special shout out to my second grade teacher, Mrs. Harrington. I'm not sure if she remembers me, but she was the one who always taught me to dream big. She said that I would always be the president of the United States, and while that might be somewhere in my future, this is a pretty close second. Yeah, it's crazy that how quickly the last few years have gone by at SHS, and it's hard to grasp that today was our last day of high school. I want to say a specific thank you to Mr. Brazillo, Mrs. O'Connor, and all of my teachers. You guys have all been so supportive and helpful throughout the last 4 years. Every teacher has been fantastic, but there are a few that I'd like to acknowledge. Some from previous years are Senor Almeida, Mrs. Noel, Ms. King, and Ms. Morgan. And a few of them this year that have done a really excellent job throughout the pandemic are Mrs. Gray, Mr. Collins, my calculus teacher, and Mrs. Pryor. They have really excelled at building relationships with every student while covering the necessary content with less than half the in-person days that we normally have. All of these teachers have had great influence on my academic career, helped me grow into a better person. Lastly, I'd like to recognize all of my classmates and friends. I've been surrounded by such remarkable individuals who encourage, challenge, and assist me. I'm very appreciative of them. I can't say thank you enough. Again, I would just like to reiterate my thanks to everyone who's been a part of my journey in any way, no matter how small.
Thank you so much, Arian. Our next scholar is David Lee. David is a creative and intelligent young person who, aside from his many academic accomplishments, can be found on Amazon because he is a published author. Over the last 10 years, David's authored 5 children's books and is currently working on a young adult novel series. Through his work as a writer, David has organized over 100 events for young readers to enjoy his work and to promote literacy. At school, David serves as the vice president of the speech and debate quiz team and is one of the editors of the high school's Town Crier newspaper. David contributes to several clubs and advisory committees at the high school and enjoys membership in the National Chinese Honor Society. This past fall, David advanced as a National Merit semifinalist. He is planning to attend Boston University to study computer science. David.
Thank you, Dr. Sawyer, for the kind introduction. First of all, I would like to extend my deepest thanks to my mom, my dad, and my sister. They've been so incredibly supportive, and my sister is so incredibly funny. It's really helped me go through all my years of high school and all my years in Shrewsbury Public Schools. I'd also like to thank some particularly influential educators in my life. Starting off from Oak Middle School, my 8th grade social studies teacher, Mr. Carriga. He was incredibly funny, made learning social studies and world history incredibly fun. And I will never forget the Italian Renaissance Shark Tank that I did. That was incredibly awesome. Since I was in 6th grade in Sherwood, I have benefited greatly from the guiding hand of Mrs. Ye, my Chinese teacher. I've really been able to grow up with a small yet focused and vibrant community of Chinese language learners. And it has really helped me develop my skills in interpersonal communication and also given me some lifelong friends. I'd also like to thank my chemistry teacher, Mrs. Moynihan, for really pushing me academically. And in her class, I definitely learned sort of what it takes to be a really stellar academic student. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Palazzo, my AP language and composition teacher, I'd really like to thank her for helping me expand my ability to develop a line of reasoning in my writing and also to consider different varied sources when developing an opinion based on a salient social issue. And finally, I'd like to thank Mr. Bazillo and I'd like to thank Mr. Smith for being advisors for the Student Advisory Committee and really helping me develop my skills at assessing sort of the school community at large and being able to represent the voices of the people that I represent most thoroughly. And I really appreciate the support that I've gotten from everyone at Shrewsbury Public Schools. And thank you so much for making high school some of the best years of my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Our next scholar is Colin Lovelace. Colin is an academically accomplished young person. He's been recognized by membership in the National Honor Society and Tri-M National Music Honor Society. He's earned the Gold Medal Summa Cum Laude Award on the National Latin Exam and has a meaningful list of volunteer and humanitarian efforts in and around his community. Intrinsically motivated, Colin pursued an online course on Greek and Roman mythology from the University of Pennsylvania And as a result of these many pursuits, Colin received the University of Vermont Citizen Scholar Book Award and is a National Merit semifinalist. He has a sharp mind and an inherent love of learning, which will serve him well as he studies psychology at the University of Pennsylvania in the fall. Colin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sawyer, for the kind introduction, and thank you to the school committee, as well as all of the administrators in the Shrewsbury Public School System for helping my education, all of the students' education run smoothly. I want to extend a thank you to my guidance counselor, Mrs. Ariel, with whom I have developed a strong personal connection, and she's also been incredibly helpful in my schooling process, finding classes, as well as my college application process. I feel that my success in my standing as a senior scholar was not something that I was aiming for, but something that happened simply because I've been so privileged to have so many amazing teachers and courses that are so interesting. I'm truly thankful to all of my educators for showing me the wonder in every subject, but there are a few teachers that I would like to extend a special thank you to. The first of those is Mr. Lockamardo, who is my choral director. I had sung before I came to Shrewsbury Public Schools for the first time as a freshman, but he introduced me to choir, which has taught me a lot of humility, not just being the only voice in the spotlight. And he's also been wonderful, helping me navigate life as an LGBT student in high school and really helped me come into my own. I'm also incredibly grateful for Dr. Thompson, Doc T, my Latin teacher for the past 4 years. Not only has she guided me through Latin and just shown me so many amazing things in the language, and I plan to continue it in college, but I think she also embodies what it means to be a teacher that's really listening to young people and adapting to, social changes and their needs. So I really appreciate that. I would also like to thank Dr. Duggan, who was my AP biology teacher junior year. She gave me just incredible experience in biology. She's a truly gifted teacher and amazing person. She has helped me define so much of my career path as well as who I am as a person. She's just so empathetic and sincere, and it's something that I really aspire to be. I would also like to give a special thank you to the English department. I had 4 amazing teachers, Mrs. Casella, Mrs. Lawler, Mrs. Palazzo, and Mrs. Penfield. They've helped me develop my skills as both a reader and a writer, and I think it's an excellent department that every student gets to experience. And last but not least, I would like to give my biggest thank you to my family, my older brother, my older sister, and most of all, my mom. My wonderful mother has just pushed me, yet loved me so hard these past 4 years of my whole life. And it's really just such an integral part of who I am, and it's been something that I will always be thankful for, because whether I'm successful in my career or whether I'm someone who's happy as a person, I know that she's really at the core of why it is that way. So thank you, Mom, and thank you everybody that I thanked, and even more.
Thank you so much, Colin. Our next scholar is Nicole Podlipek. Named a National Merit Commended Student and a member of the Spanish National Honor Society, Nicole proudly earned a 5 on her AP Chemistry exam in the midst of a pandemic. While excelling in academics was a true accomplishment, she earnestly cultivated her passion for creating art by immersing herself in at least one art class each year of high school. Attending National Portfolio Day during junior year and participating in Mass Arts Summer Intensive Animation Program helped crystallize the attraction to this creative field. Most meaningful among her extracurricular activities is her active engagement since 9th grade in the Self-Defense Club, headed by Mr. Rick Doherty, to whom she credits her discipline and confidence. With hopes of becoming an animator, Nicole is excitedly planning to pursue a Bachelor of Fine Arts in 2-dimensional animation at the School of Visual Art in New York City. Congratulations, Nicole, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sawyer, and thank you, Ms. Floyd, for the lovely introduction. I'll keep this short and sweet. I would like to start out by thanking my family, my mom, my dad, and my sister, and also my friends for all the support they've given me over this past year, both actively and passively. I would like to continue on to thank my teachers who have imparted me with knowledge that is going to carry me on into my future. And I would especially like to thank Mr. Doherty, the leader of the Self-Defense Club, because it not only helped me find my place here at the school, but it also taught me lessons that I will keep with me for the rest of my life. Special thanks also to the art department, in particular, Mrs. LeBlanc, Ms. Fox, and Mrs. Cobb, for all the assistance they've given me in developing my art and fostering my passion and guiding me to my chosen career. And last but not least, I would like to extend my thanks to the members of the school committee, to all the faculty and the administration that have enabled my success in the school system. Thank you all so much. I cannot overstate my gratitude.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Our next scholar is Divya Raghunathan. Self-motivated, compassionate, and driven, Divya is an integral member of the Shrewsbury High School student body. She has been a dedicated student council member for the last 4 years, president of the National Chinese Honor Society, band president, treasurer for Tri-M Honor Society, and a member of the National Honor Society and National Math Honor Society. Outside of SHS, she is an active member in the community, serving as the president of the Indian Youth Group, a member of Destination Imagination, and a volunteer in the Floral Street School Summer Enrichment Program. One of Divya's proudest moments was when she was part of the only winning team from Shrewsbury Public Schools at the Global Destination Imagination Competition in her freshman year, and was honored by the governor and lieutenant governor in the Massachusetts State House. You may recall she was honored here as well at school committee. Divya will be continuing her education at UMass Amherst next year. Divya.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sawyer. First off, thank you, Mr. Diamantopoulos, for all of the guidance you provided me and for writing that kind introduction. I've been in the Shrewsbury public school system since I was in preschool, and I wouldn't be where I am today without the help, support, and guidance I've received from all of my teachers since Little Beginnings, through Floral Street School, Sherwood and Oak Middle School, as well as the high school. Since I'm going closer to the end of our program, there will definitely be some repeated names in this list of teachers, but I think that just goes to show how influential these educators truly are. I'd like to thank Ms. Peacock at Sherwood Middle School for inspiring me to pursue STEM, Ms. Meany at Oak for all of her love and support, and Mr. Laporto for just being one of the kindest and most understanding educators I've ever had. I'd also like to thank Mr. Hurdle-Therian at SHS for helping me find my passion and love for psychology, as I'll be studying it next year, and Mrs. Moisen for being a fantastic student council advisor for 4 years and a huge, huge influence to my character and the person I am today. I'd like to give my greatest thanks to Yale Usher for being the best Chinese teacher in the entire world for 7 years in a row, which is absolutely crazy to think about. And she's truly one of the most caring and most loving and trusted adults in my life. I'd also like to thank my friends for being so loving, kind, and supportive all these years. You guys are truly my rock. I don't know what I'd do without you. But most importantly, I'd like to thank my mom, dad, grandmother, and my older sister, Kavya, for always pushing me to be the best I can be. They've always believed in me, and they are truly my biggest fans, and I know that all of them will always be there to support me no matter what, so thank you. A huge thanks to the school committee, Dr. Sawyer, and Mr. Zidlow for allowing us to speak tonight, and congrats to my fellow senior scholars. I've had the amazing chance to know all of you for at least 4 of our years in the Shrewsbury public school system together, and I'm so excited to see all of the amazing things you guys achieve in the future, because we're kind of awesome, guys. We're like a great group of kids, and I'm so proud of all of us for everything we've achieved.
Thank you, Divya. And last, because we're doing this alphabetically, is Sanvi Sood. Sanvi is a dynamic young leader with a great work ethic and a positive outlook. She will tell you she's most proud of her ability to make and accept mistakes, because at the end of the day, weakness is what motivates you to work harder. Sanvi was the head intern for the Research Science Network at Harvard Innovation Lab and is the co-founder of 2 data science startups. At SHS, Sanvi was the secretary of the National Latin Honor Society, received the gold and bronze medal for the National Latin Exam, was a member of the Student Advisory Board within the Mentor Volunteer Program, a member of the National Math Honor Society, and was named captain of the girls' winter and spring track teams. Sanvi will be attending Emory University with the Inspire for Change Leadership Scholarship in the fall, where she will double major in quantitative sciences and business. Sanvi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sawyer, and thank you for the school committee for having us all here. Now, I'll be completely candid. The first time I presented in front of the school committee was in 6th grade for my French class, and I may or may not have taken a 5-minute nap while presenting, but in my defense, it was bedtime, so I'll give you my word when I say I'm 99.9% sure that won't happen again. My successful academic career would not have been possible without the support of my parents and their sacrifices, encouraging words, and ultimate love and support. Whether it be attending all my 5-hour track meets, timing me while taking SAT practice tests, or telling me that it's okay to just breathe and relax, they truly are my biggest fans.
In addition, I would like to thank a few of my amazing teachers. Thank you to Mr. Belmer at Oak for introducing me to the world of classics and Latin literature, and thank you to Doc T or Dr. Thompson at SHS for continuing that, and also emphasizing the importance of being an educated global citizen. Next, thank you, Mrs. Lawler, for supporting me not only at Oak, but also through my 4 years of high school. Your commitment to social service and awareness is inspiring, and you are always someone I could talk to during times of stress. Thank you to Mrs. Candy for being my caffeine buddy and introducing me to chi-square tests. And thank you to Mrs. Gardner and Mrs. Anderson for making me a full-on calculus nerd and inspiring me to pursue quantitative sciences as my major. Lastly, I want to thank Coach Marshall for supporting me as a novice athlete and encouraging me to sprint through the pain, literally and figuratively. And thank you again for this opportunity, and congratulations to all my peers.
So before I turn it back over to the school committee to ask any questions or make any comments regarding these extraordinary young people, I'd ask Mr. Bazidlo to just make a few comments from his perspective as their principal at Shrewsbury High School.
Sure, thanks, Dr. Sawyer. I think what you see for the community, what you've seen tonight for the school committee is what embodies the best of the best at Shrewsbury High School. And what struck me about all these students, they talked about the types of connections they've had with our staff. Truly incredible. They're certainly gifted in their academics, athletics, and co-curricular activities. But what strikes me is how connected they are and how they have the EQ to understand and develop those really strong relationships and bonds with our staff, which will certainly serve them well as they move forward. So on behalf of the high school administration, I want to congratulate our scholars. I enjoyed our conversation that we had. I believe that was earlier this week outside under the tents, unmasked. So thank you for sharing your thoughts and perspectives on the high school and how we can make it better. Every year, Dr. Sawyer and I do that, and it certainly helps guide our thinking around the activities we have to do and put forth for students to make our environment and culture better. So thank you, and I wish you all the best of luck, and congratulations, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night at Senior Stroll, and then again for our activities next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Ms. Fritz?
I think this is always one of the nights that we really like. It's always extremely impressive to see what these students are doing, but it's also very gratifying as school committee members to see how well you've done as students. Some have been here, from day one. Others have come later in their school career. And I love to hear about the staff and how you have made these connections with adults in your lives, and that they've guided you through a very important part of your life. And we're going to talk about some hiring things later in our agenda, and we want to make sure that we hire people that you're connecting with and that are making connections and real life moments with you. And you've talked about it tonight, and I think that is what we need to hear as we move forward with our goals as school committee. So congratulations to all of you, always extremely impressive, and good luck as you move forward in this next phase of your lives.
Ms. Heffernan?
I certainly would echo the comments, and very, very impressive. We're incredibly proud of you, and you are representative of all of the effort that we want for all of our young people. I want to just also acknowledge, in normal times, we would expect you to be here in this room with your families, and I hope they are watching, and I'm sure they are as proud. I heard many of you mention your families, but it's always important for us to know our teachers and our educators are really important, but parents are sort of the backbone too for our young people, and so I just want to recognize them, because ordinarily we'd be smiling and winking at them as their young people got up and said their remarks, and so I want to just acknowledge the people who are standing behind you, even if not literally right now. And best of luck in your next steps forward.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would like to thank you for presenting this evening. I'm just so pleased and impressed with all that you've accomplished. And I agree that this is an effort of the individual and the family, as well as the school system, and your parents should be extremely proud this evening. I think the other thing that occurs to me is that wherever you went to school, you probably would be at the top of the class. And I think the challenge for Shrewsbury is to provide you with an atmosphere that allows you to achieve as much as you possibly can. And it sounds like from all that you've achieved and all that you plan on achieving in the near future that you're going to do that. And that's what makes it worthwhile for us. That's what makes it worthwhile for this community. that is why people move into Shrewsbury. If you ask people why they come to Shrewsbury, it's the schools. They say that right up front, and it is people like you who prove that is a good point and a good investment. So we're really grateful. You all thanked teachers, and that is a natural thing to do at the end of high school. But my other observation is that 30 years from now, when someone asks you why you've achieved as much as you have in life, I suspect you're going to be mentioning your teachers again. And this is a tribute to the excellent work that the teachers in our school system have done as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you once again for and congratulations on your accomplishments. Really impressive list of achievements. I think it's a tribute to your hard work and resiliency in what was, as NVIDIA said, a very interesting year, as you can imagine. I also appreciate your recognition of family and the teachers that impacted your journey from grade school, middle school, and high school. I think it's really important, and I appreciate that you recognize many of your teachers and your family members. It really takes a village to achieve this level of success, and congratulations once again. Again, appreciate your presentation. Thank you very much. Dr. Sawyer, any other final comments?
Just to wrap up, again, this is an extraordinary group of young people. We are very proud of them. They work extremely hard to get all of these achievements. And as Mr. Pizzillo mentioned, we met with them last week, and we were able to give them, we typically would give them this evening a small token of our appreciation, and we gave them a pen set. The conversation we had, these are prepared remarks tonight, obviously, but even unprepared, the level of maturity and thoughtfulness is just beyond what anyone would typically expect of a high school student. So, again, extremely proud of them, and congratulations, and we're looking forward to your graduation next week. So, again, congratulations, and have a good evening.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. The next item on our agenda is another time schedule appointment, also a student presentation. This is with the Shrewsbury High School Student Advisory Committee. Under the Massachusetts Education Reform Act, school districts are required to have a student advisory committee consisting of 5 high school students who are elected by the student body. The SAC is required to meet with the school committee during the year to review various issues of concern to the student body. Mr. Bazidlo serves as the faculty advisor to the SAC, and this is the final SAC report of the school year. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Bazidlo and the Student Advisory Committee. Welcome.
Great, thank you, Mr. Winsky. Goodness, I want to first of all thank members of the SEC. It's been an absolute pleasure for me. In years past, I typically will meet with this group on a regular basis and have conversations about what's happening with our school as they seek out input from our student body. This year's been an extraordinary year, and our former SAC advisor, Mr. Smith, couldn't participate in that this year, and it gave me the opportunity to step in and really work with this group of people who has been they've been absolutely extraordinary. I've enjoyed every moment with them in terms of some of the laughs we've had, some of the serious conversations we've had, and really valuing their input and empowering them to do the good work that they've done. So I can't say enough about this group. I certainly will miss our 3 seniors, Max, David, and Abia. You're really the keystones for this group, and I've enjoyed every moment with you, and I loved our conversation. So I feel really honored and privileged to at least serve as a faculty advisor this year and work directly with all of you versus how we've done it in the past. So thank you to all of you, and I will turn it over to our chairperson now, who will begin the final SAC report of their senior year.
Hello, my name is Abhi Hassan. I'm a senior, and I'm the chairperson of the Student Advisory Committee. Thank you so much for having us here today. My fellow members will now introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Max Field Evers. I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm David Lee, and I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Nikita Ram, and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Anishka Mukhopadhyay, and I'm also a junior.
Reopening. Shrewsbury High School is back full-time, and students are adjusting to the new environment. COVID testing. COVID-19 testing is going strong at Shrewsbury High School, with efficient stations around the school in the morning to collect samples and testing kits handed out during lunch. Students continue to use barcodes to identify their samples, and all student athletes are still required to test.
Vaccines. Over 7 million vaccine doses have been administered in the state of Massachusetts, with a number of those being students and staff from Shrewsbury Public Schools. Thanks to encouragement and incentives from the state and federal governments, students remain excited and optimistic about receiving a vaccine and getting back to a pre-COVID lifestyle. However, students are concerned about how vaccinations will be tracked by Shrewsbury Public Schools. Will they be required for all ages? Will students need to give their vaccination cards to the school? Overall, students are excited to protect themselves and their families, but will likely need some more guidance to determine the best ways to do so.
Feelings coming back in COVID speak. Students and teachers are very excited to be ending the year full in person. Although it has been a dramatic change for everyone, people have once again adapted successfully and are grateful to have the opportunity to share the last couple of months of school with their peers. With over 1,600 students coming to school each day, social distancing guidelines have changed, allowing students to sit 3 feet apart rather than 6. Recently, state public health officials also announced that desks no longer had to be wiped and that masks are not required while engaging in outdoor activities. Although some students are feeling a little hesitant with these new changes, the majority are happy to be going back to normalcy.
Cohort D. Students in Cohort D are looking forward to the end of the year, and home representatives have helped recent additions to the cohort acclimatize to virtual learning. Since the last report by the SAC, there have been a few changes to student life in Cohort D. Namely, one such change is that students are now required to attend a daily Zoom meeting in the morning to confirm attendance, in accordance with the state mandate.
Spirit Week. SHS's Spirit Week occurred from May 3rd to May 7th and was a wonderful way for students to be able to showcase their school spirit and unity. The week kicked off with Blue and Gold Day, where students were able to show their colonial pride by wearing their favorite SHS gear. Tuesday transitioned into USA Day, and students donned their favorite team gear on Wednesday. The whole school came together on Thursday for Beach Day, and on Friday, everyone was able to show their class pride by wearing their respective colors, freshmen in red, sophomores in orange, juniors in green, and seniors in purple. Due to current circumstances of COVID-19, the annual Fall Spirit Rally was canceled, but many are hoping that it can be an option again in the future.
Student activities. Although impacted by COVID-19, students continue to participate in a wide range of activities and make SHS proud.
Speech and debate. Despite the major changes caused by the pandemic, students on the speech and debate team have continued to exemplify outstanding effort and have had numerous impressive accomplishments this year. This year, tournaments have been conducted successfully over Zoom, with 36 individual first places won at local tournaments. Shrewsbury was very grateful to hold an annual state speech and debate tournament in person, with students competing over Zoom from individual classrooms at SHS. The team was proud to have 3 individual state champions, including Shalini Biju and Rithika Prasad, and had 17 other finalists. 5 members also competed online at the prestigious University of Kentucky 2021 Tournament of Champions. Ria Kanzra was awarded the 2021 TOC National Champion, which was a very proud and exciting moment for our team. Moving forward, 30 qualifiers will compete at the National Catholic Forensic League Tournament online this weekend, and 15 qualifiers will compete at the National Speech and Debate Tournament in June. The accomplishments and efforts of the speech and debate team have been outstanding despite the circumstances, and the members will continue to use their voice to fuel change.
Athletics and esports. While so many things have changed for students this year, Mr. Costa and everyone involved in Shrewsbury Athletics have done a great job bringing some semblance of normalcy back to student life. One major change, however, was the delaying of some fall and winter sports into the Fall 2 season, which is a 4th athletic period added just before the start of the spring season. Football, volleyball, and other sports previously thought to be canceled for the year got their chances to run in some capacity, much to the relief of the students and parents involved. Overall, Shrewsbury still had an impressive participation in Fall 2, with a total of 319 students. Right now, SHS student athletes are in the midst of the spring season, with 378 students getting involved this time around. Recently, the governor's office has issued a statement removing the mask mandate for outdoor sports at the high school level. Many athletes are very happy with this change, especially considering how hot it's starting to get outside. However, student athletes also understand that in order to have this privilege, we must remain vigilant to prevent outbreaks. While most athletes are still in the middle of their regular season, our SHS esports teams in both Rocket League and League of Legends have recently ended their seasons with even more state championships to their name. Shrewsbury esports remains a juggernaut, winning 5 of the 6 available state championships across the 2 games since its inception. With esports continuing to gain recognition and relevance, and considering the emergence of esports scholarships at some universities, Shrewsbury is proving itself as one of the nation's premier cultivators of video game talent.
MCAS and AP testing. The MCAS for grades 9 through 11 is taking place over the next few weeks. Students have already conducted an infrastructure test in their assigned classrooms. Passing the MCAS is no longer a graduation requirement for juniors. However, over 320 of our juniors decided to participate in the MCAS testing in hopes of qualifying for scholarships. AP testing is over for a majority of students. SHS elected to go during the first round offered so that students could take the test on paper. The tests were offered at the Doubletree Hotel in Westboro and at the high school. The online versions of the test were offered at home, and any students with conflicts were able to go in the second round of testing. The tests were long, but our students were prepared, and we are incredibly proud of all they've accomplished.
Elections. The annual SHS elections ran from May 17th to May 19th, highlighting various individuals who wanted to make a difference at our school. The general rules stayed the same, allowing each student 5 22 by 28 posters and 28.5 by 11 flyers, campaigning for their office with catchy slogans. Candidates also recorded their speeches and created bio sheets that were sent via Schoology for students to get to know them better and know why they should be in office before voting. Some individuals did run unopposed, but they still recorded speeches introducing themselves to incoming students as well. Overall, elections ran quite smoothly and were a great opportunity for students to gain leadership skills no matter the outcome.
Wellbeing Reframe. The Wellbeing Reframe Initiative, a collaboration between former SAC chairperson Sophia Peng, a dedicated group of SHS students, and the mental health team at SHS, has made substantial progress over the past few months. Each of the 5 task forces on the initiative has formed an action plan to be carried out at the end of this year and going into next school year. The Classroom Conversation Task Force is working on flyers that will help teachers talk with students about mental health more effectively. The Untipping the Balance Task Force is planning a school-supported website that will catalog student feedback about courses on topics such as time commitments. The Culture of Care Task Force is contacting Mrs. Flynn about creating more discussions about microaggressions and racism. The When and Where Task Force calls for more conversations about mental health and well-being during freshman orientation. Finally, the Resource Repackage Task Force has communicated with school psychologist Dr. Spisto about consolidating existing resources on Schoology and finding methods to increase student engagement with the SHS mental health team, such as through regular discussions. The initiative looks forward to fulfilling their goal of preserving student well-being and improving the SHS community.
Performing Arts. The Performing Arts Department has been working extremely hard during these trying times to showcase students' progress, but also continue to stick to COVID-19 guidelines. A majority of the concerts are virtual now, meaning that students are given an audio which they record themselves playing along to, and it's combined together, creating one video. Sometimes different ensembles have worked together through these virtual ensemble recordings and highlight instruments you may not hear in a specific group. Chamber and A-level orchestra were given the special privilege of playing in the auditorium and being recorded by our wonderful TV production students. Band and choir students remain performing virtually for now, but are hoping that in the future they can also do something similar. Although this year has been a little hectic, our C-Wing teachers continue to find innovative and unique ideas for students to continue to be engaged musically.
Senior events. It is that part of the year where tears are shed and people say goodbye. It's the final stretch for our class of 2021 seniors, and they have a string of exciting events coming up.
Senior Breakfast. The first major senior event this year was the Senior Breakfast, which was held on March 24th. Usually this event is held to set off the last 50 days of school for seniors, but due to the hybrid schedule at the time, it was a bit off. The senior class greatly appreciated the administration's effort to make something special for us in such a crazy year. And we continue to be grateful for their effort to give us an amazing send-off.
This year has not been easy, and with prom being canceled last year, our class officers, advisors, and the administration have worked hard to provide us with an alternative. Senior Stroll will take place tomorrow in the field house, but there will be areas outside available for maskless pictures. Students can wear prom dresses if they purchased them last year, or keep it semi-formal. Dinner will be offered by Napoli, and a Google form has already gone out with menu options for students to fill out.
On June 1st at 4:15 p.m., seniors are invited to ride with their family on a parade throughout campus. They can decorate the car to reflect their future plans and school spirit, and educators and coaches from Shrewsbury Public Schools will be present for a final farewell.
Next up is Commemoration, which is being held on June 2nd at 7 p.m. This is really a time for reflecting on our class's experience at SHS with a senior video and some speeches from both class of 2021 class officers and a faculty guest speaker. For parents and relatives, the events will be aired on Selco channels 29 and 329 and will be live streamed and eventually archived on the Shrewsbury Media Connection website.
Graduation, the moment we've been waiting for. Our students have worked hard for the past 12 plus years to get to this moment. Graduation will take place outdoors on the turf field on June 3rd. There will be a rehearsal that morning. Masks will not be mandatory for participants or for spectators. Students and faculty will give speeches and memories will be made. On behalf of the seniors, thank you for everything, SHS. And thank you for your continuous support of the SAC.
Great, thank you for the report. Colleagues, any questions or comments for SAC? Mr. Palich.
Just a comment, especially to our seniors. I want to thank you all for your continued feedback to this committee. I think this year in particular, it's been very helpful to us to hear your perspective as students on what's been going on. We know that this has been an unprecedented time and certainly a great challenge for all of you to adapt to. So I want to thank you all for your continued hard work and for your very clear, very effective, and very helpful communication with all of us throughout.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Ritz?
I echo what Mr. Palich stated. I think it's always very beneficial for us to hear directly from the students because you are living this. This is what you're immersed in day to day, and for us to hear directly from you, it helps us for any of the initiatives that we're working on or thinking about. So I want to thank you for everything that you're doing, bringing information for us. And I know we heard from David prior with the senior scholars about plans for next year. I'm just wondering, Max and Abia, if you'd like to share what you're doing next year.
Abia, you want to start?
Sure. Next year, I will be attending University of Michigan. I'm majoring in biomedical engineering on the pre-med track.
Excellent.
And next year, I'll be studying economics at Princeton University.
Excellent. Congratulations to both of you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Heffernan.
I feel like I missed a step, and because I'm still the new person on this committee. When the three seniors leave, is that the class elections that just happened that help to select the next year's? So those, do we know who those individuals already are? I see lots of nods.
So Max, you want to take this question?
Yeah, sure, I'll take it. So the election process for SAC happens a week before all the other elections, such as like STUCO or class president. And unlike those offices, it's 5 students elected from the entire student body, and it's not by class. So those elections have already taken place. Nikita and Anushka will be returning, but we also have 3 new members. So it should be very, very exciting. And I don't know where the list can be found. Mr. Bazilla, do you know where that list is?
Put me on the spot, Max. I'm not entirely sure either, but I do know that Anushka and Nikki will be coming back next year, so which we're really excited about and looking forward to our continued work together. So we certainly will advertise that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, congratulations to our seniors, and we look forward to seeing at least a few of you again next year. Thanks.
Great. Yes, congratulations to you all, and thank you so much for all your reports throughout this year. Congratulations to the seniors, and appreciate the time and effort that you're all putting into kind of bringing the voice of your classmates to us. It's a very important role, and again, appreciate the effort that you put into it at every presentation. So thank you so much. Dr. Sawyer, any other further comments?
Thank you. I'm also greatly appreciative of the SAC and what they bring to the perspective, to the administration, and to the school committee. I want to thank them, and I'm very pleased to hear that Anushka and Nikita are coming back next year. And I also want to congratulate and thank David and Abia and Max. Certainly, I've known them for many years coming up through the school district, and remember David having his author events at Floral Street School at a variety of times. I can remember A few years ago, Max was honored here for his being a state champion in speech and debate, and also being recognized. He's also been an outstanding member of the track and cross-country teams. Abia, also an athlete who was honored here for the World Championship in Destination Imagination. And all of them have contributed a great deal to the school district through their years here, and we will miss them. But we're excited for them taking their next steps of their education. So thank you very much and congratulations, and we appreciate all your contributions.
Great, thanks again.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. All right. The next item on our agenda, yep. The next item on our agenda is under curriculum. It's an update on the SPS efforts regarding equity and anti-racism report. Our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Ms. Amy Clowder, will be providing us with information about action steps taken by Shrewsbury Public Schools in regards to the engagement of the community in district equity and inclusion efforts since Dr. Sawyer outlined an initial plan of action in June of 2020. Her report will include information on drivers, iterative progress, and next steps. Ms. Clowder and also Ms. Barbalone is here as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to join you. I appreciate the introduction, and I just want to acknowledge that although Barb and I are the ones that are sitting in the chairs tonight, we want to begin by making sure that everyone knows that the commitment to equity and inclusion is one that we hold in common with lots of other educators and leaders in the district, and really in the larger community. So our task is to update you on our efforts within Shrewsbury Public Schools. And I just wanted to start with that lovely picture from several years ago, because I think one of the things that we ponder as we begin our work, and especially this year in the epidemic, is the outcome. And when I look at that and I think of the product of unconditional acceptance that Joe really emphasizes whenever we have district leadership team meetings, I think that's the outcome, when kids feel that they can celebrate not only their academic achievements, but also the ways that they've connected with each other in the larger community in their schools. And so our work on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, with a big emphasis on the word belonging, is grounded in that aspiration. Secondly, I think if you're looking at this and thinking, is that visual, this seems really familiar, you're right. I first used that when we were embarking on our joint school council meetings, and we had small focus groups that were giving us a sense about what we were proud of as a district and where we needed to go. And I think it's important to emphasize a plan as an opportunity to kind of make visible our hope for the future. And in thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, we've nested that work so far under the umbrella of our 4 strategic priorities. And we've realized that in articulating our vision, it's an opportunity to kind of think about how we can strengthen relationships with students, parents, and staff if we do the work well, and also how we forge connections with the larger community, and perhaps thinking more specifically about our strategic planning process in all kind of helps us think about how we might frame really specifically an action plan for DEI. So when we began our strategic planning process that would guide 2018 to 2022, we recognized that there was a gap between our collective aspirations captured in the Shrewsbury Portrait of a Graduate and the realities that many of our students experience in our community. And together we wondered how we could make our school communities more inclusive. That 5-year strategic plan and the goals that are embedded within it named the need for a systemic approach to ensuring equitable access and opportunities for learning within the strategic priority of creating learning environments where everyone's success matters. And the slide here depicts kind of the action steps that we've taken since the district identified belonging as a goal. And it's gratifying to see the forward progress we've made thus far, considering all the constraints we faced, especially this year as a result of the pandemic. Taken together with the complexity of managing change in an organization of our size, I think this visual is a nice reminder that even though it feels like slow work, we've come a long way since the formation of the strategic plan in 2018. And I'm just going to walk us through some of the things on this timeline, and then also go into greater detail about those things in subsequent slides. So one of the The murder of George Floyd a year ago certainly brought a sense of urgency to our work, and current events and a heightened awareness of racism in America continue to affirm for district leaders that our schools must be places where all students, all families, and all staff feel safe and well. And yet, as we look at what's before us, it's important to say we have taken steps to make our district a place where everyone's success matters. The work on inclusive practices and the co-taught model, initiated by Meg Belcido and the Student Services team, moved us closer to the vision of achieving high expectations for all children. And since naming those priorities and the receipt of the Equity Audit Report, we've consulted with district leaders, staff, and outside consultants to respond to the recommendations within that report and to think more broadly about the term inclusive practices. This timeline kind of reflects specific steps we've taken with regard to race and equity. And we take seriously the commitment to becoming an anti-racist school district with an emphasis on the word becoming. So we knew that to begin with, if we were going to successfully engage all educators, we needed professional development that was targeted to all educators. And feedback from staff emphasized the importance of making sure that all staff heard the same messages at the same time, and that also that we planned professional development, not just with the messaging of we're all in it together, but also with common resources that everybody could access as they were beginning to think about their role in the work. So we held 2 events, one in October and one in January, and professional development will continue next year with a course that the district leadership team piloted in conjunction with the MIT consultants that we started working with in July. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next few slides. At the same time, as we were engaged in summer planning, Dr. Sawyer convened a representative group of students, educators, parents, and district leaders to think together about what else was needed. So having PD planned, we needed to think more broadly about some other action steps. And the Coalition for Equity and Anti-Racism developed essential questions, met with Dr. Manti Jackson, and is also going to continue to meet with the goal of developing a vision for diversity, equity, and inclusion in Shrewsbury. The district also looked at 2 consultants, worked with 2 consultants to analyze student achievement data. Again, we're thinking about what we're hearing both from students and staff surveys of the past, and also what we're learning about in response to kind of the student data. And you've heard me present several times now about student subgroups and thinking about when we're talking about student achievement, who's achieving and how can we serve students in those subgroups better. So we contracted with Dr. Akuma Ndwike, who looked at student achievement data relative to some of the survey data we had from the Regional Youth Behavior Survey. We're going to hear more from her as her report's finished. We contracted with Maureen Manning, who partnered with Kathy Lang-Madden, the director of our English Language Education Department, to conduct a program review and think about, as we, the numbers of students in that program have grown, how we could improve some of our practices. And finally, we had put plans on hold for surveying students and families because frankly, some of the findings on the Equity Audit Report suggested that we might risk further traumatizing students, especially students of color, by asking them to revisit some of the stories that they had experienced. And so we wanted to make sure that we were proceeding really thoughtfully about how to get information from students, but get it in a way that felt supportive. We've identified Panorama and Thought Exchange as 2 organizations that can help us now move forward with collecting data in that way, that are better aligned with kind of the recommendations in the report. And the learning and data from that will continue as part of that improvement cycle. So I think one of the things that's important to understand is, although I've represented this in a linear timeline to show kind of what we've accomplished in this 1 year, we fully expect that some of the results of the surveys will also then maybe show us to be taking a step back in order to take a step forward, because we may not have anticipated some of the things that we need to move forward with. And that leads us to kind of looking at our plans for eliciting data, and I'm going to talk more deeply about that next. So I mentioned Dr. Ndwike, who looked at our data results in terms of thinking about our approach for students, and particularly student subgroups. She looked at MCAS scores going back from 2017 to see, how are those subgroups performing, and what's the factor of race in achievement? And then also, how does race correlate with feelings of belonging as measured by the regional youth health survey results? And one of the things that she found is that our scores are trending upwards. So while we still see a gap, we've been doing better in these past 3 years. And I think that's hopeful. It certainly tells me that we have more work to do to close that gap, as many communities do. But in her report, we'll go more deeply into some of the recommendations related to those findings. And we also use data in our approach with staff, and my colleague Barb Malone is going to talk more about that.
Sure. So back in 2018, when we were first developing and putting together our strategic goals, something I was curious about is why our staff did not necessarily, at least in some roles, reflect the diversity of our community. And so at that point, I began analyzing data from SchoolSpring, which had been our online recruiting tool. And what became clear to me is that our pools of candidates were overwhelmingly white. So it was very difficult for a district leader to find candidates who are diverse when the applicant pools themselves are very white. And so, and didn't necessarily reflect all of the students in our school system. So after some research and talking to different people, including Dr. Sawyer, I really thought that there would probably be a two-tiered approach to making the pools themselves more diverse. The first would be to look at those areas where there are either entry points into a career in education or where we were clearly having some success in attracting diverse candidates, and seeing if among those employees and candidates there were individuals who we could help on the path towards licensure. And what we found out was that we have the most diversity in our day-to-day subs, and we deliberately increased the pool and really looked strongly for diverse candidates for those positions, and got to know some of the folks subbing for us, and realized that a lot of them were very, very educated, gifted people with careers that might have originated in a different country, but that we could help them through the licensure process. And so that is something that I've been doing on an individual basis. And we do have some people in our pipeline now that are very close to the point of being strong candidates for finalist positions. The other approach to take is to find new ways to advertise, and that resulted in utilizing a new website, which we just started in April, I Am Diversity, and we've been able to post a number of different things there, including the assistant principal positions at SHS, professional educator positions for the science department, and postings for the extended day site coordinator positions. We also now have up our school nurse positions there, instructional coach and curriculum coordinator positions, which would be members of our district leadership team, along with the assistant principal positions. And then a second thing that, and it's actually the thing we did first, was we really changed the way our postings read to really invite diverse candidates in. And then the most recent addition to what we're working on, and I think we'll expand it much more next year, but we are in touch with UMass Amherst, Worcester State University, and Framingham State University to expand our pool of early and career candidates, with the idea that we know there are universities locally that have diverse student bodies, and they also have education programs. Mm-hmm. So these are all ways to try to drive more people into the pool that represent a diverse group, And then, as always, positions are filled through all the steps we've always taken, which the school committee is well aware of. And we hope by building those diverse pools, we'll have more finalists that better reflect the diversity, both of our community and diversity in general, to support our students. So it's something that will evolve over time. It's not something where you see a lot of instant results from. We certainly have many, as you heard tonight, very gifted, talented educators. But as we do have turnover, these are opportunities to build our applicant pools.
Great. So when I think about change, I think about renowned author Zaretta Hammond, who tells participants when she's talking about culturally responsive teaching that it's really important when you're embracing a change to go slow, to go deep, and linking the assessment of current reality to developing fluency as first steps, and making sure that everybody really understands the terminology that they're using before we're embracing the change. When I think about that, makes me think about, for example, our approach to using student data. So I mentioned earlier thinking about how we use data to inform our approach instructionally. We had the MCAS data. We could name that we had an achievement opportunity gap, but thinking about what we're going to do about it really required us to study what the problem was. And as a result of that, we understood we needed more data and more intermittent data. So the adoption of the universal screening tool, the STAR assessment system, kind of helps us to think about not just where are the points at which students are making effective progress and how we can do about it, but what are the interventions that are really closing the gap for students, and how can we replicate those successes? And I think that same approach is something we need to be considering as we're thinking about building cultures where more students experience belonging, and we hear fewer students' stories of microaggressions or lack of belonging. And I think one of the things that's at odds is our feeling of urgency to address the issue, and also the need that we're hearing from consultants to pause and make sure that as we're using terms like anti-racist and inclusivity, that we're really clarifying what that means and aligning with a vision for our success. So I know that if you surveyed 5 different people about how quickly we're moving, you'd probably get a variety of answers. But the process that we're embarking on is iterative by design so that we can get inclusive feedback from the community. And one way we've got that feedback for staff first is because we knew we needed to prioritize staff thinking when we were structuring professional development. As we're beginning to think about surveying the community, we know that we also need to kind of check our own understanding of what we're hearing from school community with parents in the field and also with students. And so thinking about how we can do that more planfully will also no doubt shape our future plans. So when we think about this cycle, listen, learn, plan, act, assess, it's purposely a cycle because we will continue to listen, not just when we're taking this initial survey results, but after we get the survey results and then following up. So our next stage is to really think about, just as the staff survey results informed our approach to professional development, how the Panorama survey that will ask students a mix of questions about social emotional learning as well as race and equity, students in grades 3 through grades 12, how that will inform our sense of our effectiveness as a district, and then the thought exchange process will inform the mascot study group as well. And there's a lot of opinions and a lot of thinking to process both about those different issues and also kind of in thinking about what to do about it. So as we form an initial action plan based on the data, just as with professional development, that wisdom of we need to hear the same message at the same time, and then we also need help thinking about how to learn how to do better. We need to kind of parse out what's the message from these surveys, come up with a plan of action, put that plan in action, and then elicit feedback about that plan. So when we run professional development sessions, we always end them with a survey to say, so this was our intention. How well did it go? What do we need to do next? And so between the October Professional Development Day and the January Professional Development Day, the survey that staff shared kind of helped me think about, okay, so what do we need in January as a next step? And I think that same thing will be part of the kind of the iteration of our plan as we listen. So it's really important that we start with the listening and listen really, really broadly to a variety of viewpoints. The next stage in the process is to learn. And so when we talk about DEIB, or diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity, you can see we've kind of switched those things around. And that's with the consultant, Dr. Amante Jackson, who's on the right, and her thinking about how important it is for us to think first that we start with diversity and recognizing kind of we have a lot of different people in our community. We need to make sure that we invite them to the party. And then as people are coming to the party, we need to make sure they feel welcome. Belonging is the next stage, and belonging aligns really well with some of the social emotional learning initiatives that we've begun. And then we need to make sure that we're moving from, inclusion is next. You know, you're informing kind of what happens, and then we get to, you have a stake in that as the ultimate goal. But in various pieces, from professional development to kind of working at the building level, we will have a range of sometimes people feeling like they're more included than others, sometimes people feeling outcomes are more equitable than others. So what she cautioned is that it's not going to be we're in this stage and then we're all going to be in this next stage, that it's very typical for communities to be in different stages with different kind of systems because so many things are happening simultaneously in a district. So we want to begin with this base level of how do we assess kind of the degree of belonging that students and staff are experiencing right now, and then how do we kind of measure our progress against that baseline. And so the Panorama survey data will help us to establish kind of that baseline. And as we're doing that, how do we learn how to do better in terms of fostering that sense of belonging? And then one of the things I think is really important to acknowledge that in this community, when we work together towards a shared goal, amazing things have happened. I look at our progress with unified basketball, thanks to Meg and her team. Mm-hmm. I look at what we've been able to do with fundraising efforts, the turf field, and then the talent show and the music piece, and how we, rose beyond the challenge of the pandemic to kind of bring people together to support the arts, and the recent override. I think that there's a shared commitment in the community to do better in terms of race and equity, and I think we can do that. And part of the plan will come from making sure that we are hearing different voices and then responding accordingly. So in terms of looking from kind of the PD standpoint, we've established some basic understanding of what the terminology means with staff. And we've also thought about kind of how we link both what we're doing from an academic standpoint to what we're doing from social emotional learning standpoint to what we might be doing with diversity and equity standpoint. But ultimately, the goal is to make sure that we have learning environments where everyone's success matters, and to make sure that we're approaching it in a way that includes kind of community perspectives as well. So one of the things that's really important when we think about the next step of learning is leadership PD. And so after emphasizing the importance of engaging all staff and clarifying terms, Dr. Amante Jackson really encouraged the district to focus on the role of school leaders. And so we planned PD this year on two fronts. And while we had professional development for all staff, we also were very focused on how we grow expertise within the leadership team, because part of responding to issues of microaggression, for example, and making school cultures more inclusive places is learning what to do when you see something that runs contrary to that feeling. And so leadership is really central in terms of responding to and inviting student perspectives on things. For that reason, they were the first to go through the MIT course. Ultimately, that course will be in play with all staff next year, based on the modifications I hear from the district leaders about, the doability of the course and how we might take different segments part at a time. But I think the goal is not that we've had 2 days of professional development and we're finished. So when I talk about the iterative nature of the plan, it's we did those 2 days. We have some feedback. We have some parallel leadership training happening. Then we're going to continue to kind of work on those things. And we're probably going to hear some feedback from the community about, other things that we need to work on as a result of our survey, and that will also shape our plans for future professional development. So the other piece I want to say about some of that learning is that not all of the professional development was facilitated at the district level. And so there were teacher leaders at both the middle and the high school level particularly, where small groups of educators in a variety of roles led group discussions, liaised with other town communities, worked to host kind of town events at the library, and made it easy for teachers to gather outside of school to kind of process some of the learning that they were doing, both on the job and also on professional development days. And so those teachers were helpful resources, offered helpful resources to their peers, and also were good sources of information for people who are looking to kind of parse out some of the terms that we were talking about as we were conducting an ongoing learning. And so there's both a very planful kind of district vision for where we need to go next, and also kind of a groundswell of what educators are already identifying that they're interested in, and some of those things are also overlapping. So our next step is to really think about how we move forward in concert. And I really love the terminology of kind of in concert with the community, because it implied kind of shared responsibility and togetherness, and that it's that collaboration that's important when you're making music or when you're fighting for a worthy cause. And I'm really proud that we have so many interested people willing to support our efforts to become an anti-racist school district. It also, kind of the notion of in concert, makes you think not only of that beautiful outcome where the sound is just right and everybody's playing the right notes, but also that warm-up that even professionals need, and that ongoing practice to make sure that we're thinking about how well aligned we are in our responsiveness to the community. So the Shrewsbury Public Schools Coalition for Equity and Anti-Racism also has a role, and made up of students, parents, community, and staff. They'll also kind of shape our vision, and that was one of the things that we worked with the consultant to kind of think about, is what our next steps are. So the pandemic, I think, was a challenge in many ways, because it interfered with kind of the business of running school and made us think outside the box about things like meeting structures. It also enabled kind of a different level of collaboration and some cross-pollination of ideas. And as we build common understanding of kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we think about our next steps, it's a reminder to the group that the change process isn't linear, and that we're likely going to be faced with lots of competing things to think about in terms of transitioning back into more normal next year. So we have to think about, what are the opportunities before us and where those will go. But the extraordinary collaboration among and between districts and between the district and various stakeholder groups, I think, garnered a lot of energy to do this work. And although our reach exceeded our grasp at some points this year, I think those partnerships established in each of our school communities, and also those emerging partnerships between some of the town coalitions, and particularly the library and the schools, will serve us really well. So I want to pause and invite your questions. And
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Clowder, Ms. Malone. Colleagues, questions, comments? Mr. Balich.
Two, if I might, starting with Ms. Clowder. Understanding that we are moving in a way that's deliberative and obviously still very much in a phase where we're doing exploration and research, and not all the answers are in place. Curious, when we're looking at disparities by race and performance among standardized testing, what is an example of an intervention that might be utilized to try to address that situation?
I think the best thing to think about is that tiered model of wanting to make sure that first, good instruction, that everybody gets really great teaching and learning across important priority subjects. So, for example, sometimes we have students that are coming from other districts that are missing some of those key components, and so having an entry process that kind of looks at, okay, so this is our curriculum and these are our priority standards. The student may have missed that. how do we have assessments that kind of identify what is the next focus of instruction for this student? So one is kind of how do we use assessment more planfully and think of it not as a failure of the student, but an opportunity to kind of push this. This is the skill that will get that kid to the next hump. Another one is thinking about, how we provide a little bit more to the kids that need more. So, for example, there are different fluency exercises for reluctant writers. If you invest in some of those fluency exercises and identify really good ones, that will take some of the automaticity of writing and help students who feel like they're reluctant writers for a variety of reasons. I get stuck in a brain freeze or I can't think of an idea. Move that remotely through and see if that unlocks something for a kid who gets stuck. So when we think about, boy writers who sometimes feel like they're really uninterested in some of the writing talks or prompts we use, how can we be more engaging with that? So those are just two examples that come to mind, but the other piece is thinking about small group instruction and how do we group kids effectively and how long those groups stay together. So when I think about guided reading, for example, that's been a real driver of improvement at the elementary level. We need to think about, so what does small group instruction look like at the middle level? And how can we have both a team model and also consistent small group supports for kids?
Thank you. And to Ms. Malone, licensure strikes me as something that seems to be a consistent barrier, an issue that we need to help potential applicants overcome. And first of all, I'm very glad to see that the work that you're leading in our district to try to address that situation. But I'm curious if you're aware of any efforts happening at the state level or even among other districts, because it strikes me that while we can try to do some things as a district, licensure is primarily a state. There are state requirements for licensure, so it would seem to me that there are some barriers at the state level that might be coming into play there. So I'm curious if there are any efforts to try to address that situation. Again, I'm pleased to see that we're making an effort at the local level, but that strikes me as something that requires a solution at a higher level as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. So the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has identified that passing MTEL tests has been a barrier to experienced teachers from other countries being able to move through licensure. Yeah, I'm pleased to say that many of the people we've been working with have been passing the MTELs, but the department has been looking at alternative pathways to licensure so that there's not that systemic barrier of you must pass this test. And there are plenty of really strong educators who do struggle sometimes with a standardized test for a variety of different reasons. And that's something that's across all races and ethnicities. It can be a barrier to people becoming a licensed teacher. So they are looking at that from that more systemic approach. But, from our perspective, helping people with licensure and understanding the different varieties of licensure you can get. If you have somebody who was a doctor, for example, in India, and has a very strong base of understanding in biology, and they come here, they can easily pass a biology subtest, they can pass a communication and literacy test, and then really they're just seeking the equivalent, the recognition of the equivalency of their degree from India to Massachusetts. And there are a number of different agencies that help people do that. So if people are listening and they're wondering, well, how do I do that? Be great for them to get in contact with me because we've walked a lot of people through that process. And that seems to help them get through those barriers.
Thank you.
Ms. Heffernan. Yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate this update, and I would, if I can, I'd like to just take a minute and connect a couple of dots of other things that are going on also in our broader community. I represent the Shrewsbury School Committee on our town's DEI task force. We haven't changed our acronym, as it sounds like your consultant has suggested or modified it. And so I want to put in context this conversation because while schools have a very particular responsibility in educating young and emerging minds. We are not alone in this work. And so if I can just share a little bit, and then I have a connection I'd like to make and a question. So that task force was formed in this past fall by the Board of Selectmen and has a 1-year term to make a report back to the Board of Selectmen in October of 2021. It looks at everything from town services of fire, police, Selco, town hall services, but also parks and rec, senior center, libraries, and even takes an even more holistic look at issues around health and housing in our community. And so really broad, taking sort of a public health approach to thinking about equity more broadly. I wanted to call it the two chairs of that committee are town residents Ruth Thibault and Adiola Manamane. But we have an education subcommittee, and Maura Egan, who's an active member of our school district, has presented to us before on this issue. One of our educators, I believe at Oak, if I have that right, is the chair of the education subcommittee, and that the whole task force, but the education subcommittee itself is tasked to come up with recommendations. And part of the problem that we are trying to solve, and sort of in conjunction, I would say, with the work that the district is doing, is thinking about ensuring that children and families feel included in all places and spaces in public schools and other departments in which they move. So think of Parks and Rec or library services, and we do strong partnerships with them in the summertime. And I would say that the recommendations are still very draft, they're early, there's more work to be done, but they're focusing on very similar themes. Sort of how do we think about staff, hiring and professional development? You've talked a lot about that tonight, are obviously high. How do we think about families and connections to families, which is, I think, a place that I know we could grow as a community in terms of making sure new families are welcomed, ensure that families are engaged. One of the ones that I think is particularly important for us as a school committee, or two that I think are important for us to just be thinking through, are issues around language and ensuring that families feel connected. It frankly has a cost to it, but to do it well and to make sure that people feel included is one. But also fee structures have been coming up around kids being able to participate, and I know it's a particular issue important to all of us when we think about our fees of our district, and that we don't want those to step in the way. And even though we've oftentimes tried to have sort of backdoor or other options for young people, we know that could potentially be a sticking point. And then certainly thinking about sort of students and climates and classrooms and the like. And so when I reflect on, I really strongly support sort of this iterative idea that this is not done, this is not a one and done, and there's lots of more constant learning to be done. I think there are places where, even given this crazy pandemic budget year, there are some really good notes in here for us to grab onto, and so I'm really glad we're getting this report now, and I far from think it's done, but having been part of listening to some of our other town departments, in many ways, I think the committee was feeling like our professional development, I would expect to be many, many steps ahead of our other partners in the municipal space. We are in the business of learning, so I would expect us to want to be learning, but is also quite impressive. And then there was questions sort of saying, how do we send some of the other employees of the town to the schools work? And so I'm happy about that, and I really think it's smart that you started with the leadership and then kind of to continue to build. And these are, I see it as like building up walls and little bricks, and it takes a long time to have something with a strong foundation. And I certainly want to acknowledge, Ms. Malone, the work to think about how we advance diversity in hiring is a many-year-long struggle. And any professional environment, and having served in lots of different roles in other parts of government, once you get into professional classes, you have whole career ladders that have often put challenge and barriers for folks who've walked a different path, and that kind of have led to those. So I think the place where I'm excited that it sounds like you're moving a little more into, and again, this is recognizing it's iterative, so I'm not trying to demean any past efforts, but in thinking about the data, like what does the data tell us, and how do we dig that out? And so I'm very excited to hear that we're going to start to survey students. I think that's one of the things that came from the town task force. Can we talk to the students? The students will know. They'll tell us honestly, was sort of the thinking. So I'm glad that's happening, and I want to applaud. I know there's always 100 things to do, but I think it's important, and I'm glad that's moving forward. when do we expect to know? Can you say me a little bit more about the, I don't want to mispronounce her name, Ms. Manning, is it Dr. Nwadke? Their report.
Nwadike.
Thank you. They're kind of help me understand the scope of what they're engaged with us to kind of understand our data and what that tells us, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. She did a 3-year look back at our MCAS data and looked at it through the lens of race, and she looked at the kind of the sense of the regional youth behavior results, and then extrapolated kind of how does race relate to feelings of belonging? How does academic performance, how do they correlate? And she's a statistician, so she says it much more adeptly than I do, but essentially she was looking at, if you were going to think about a place where there's an opportunity, where is that place? And how do you study that in terms of looking at that baseline? Because we were looking at the question of, to what extent do kids feel a lack of belonging because they don't feel successful academically? And whether that's a factor in how we're moving forward. But also, if we were going to target a place where we wanted to do more work in that area, where would that be? And so, because we have that data around belonging through that survey at the middle level, part of our initial thinking is looking more deeply there. Both because it's literally in the middle of 2 grade spans that are really important, and it's kind of an opportunity to kind of focus there, but also because it's hard to focus everywhere. And so she helped kind of provide a perspective about where the best data is to drive kind of that baseline assessment, and then indicators of progress from there.
And if I can just follow up, how long is our engagement with her? Is that like in somewhat static, she helped do that, or is
It's static, yes. We were working with Dr. Monte Jackson's organization, DEEP, and we really needed to kind of take a data view, and so she's a consultant that kind of looks specifically at just data. And so I asked her to kind of do a comparison for us that was deeper than what I had reported out in terms of just MCAS subgroup results.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm involved in the DEI work in my corporate culture, so I love that belonging piece, and I'm going to kind of steal that and bring it back. And when we have our discussions at work, because I think that's such a great way to kind of look at it in a different sense, because it is an emotionally charged discussion at times, and it's difficult. We're having difficult conversations as we move forward, and I think in order for this work to truly happen, we have to really make sure that we're listening to all voices, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, and it's one of these where we have to be sure that we're inclusive of all voices, all opinions, and it's some people are afraid to speak up. Again, it's emotional. They're afraid they may say the wrong thing or have the wrong opinion. And we have to be sure as we move forward that we're listening to everyone regardless. And I think, this whole listening piece is so important. It doesn't matter what, we have to listen. All of us have to listen and be open to different opinions and different suggestions. And I'm glad you have that in that circular piece that we're all going to be doing this. And I think the other part of it is not to focus on negative. We have to also focus on positive. We talk a lot about microaggressions, and we were doing this recently in a workshop I was involved at work, and we talked about micro affirmations, that we really need to make sure we're not always talking about microaggressions, that we're looking at micro affirmations as a community, as a school district, because there are things that are very positive as well. And we're forgetting about that as we're doing this DEI work. And I just think there's so much involved, and we're kind of just at the tip of it as we move forward. And things are going to change too. So I give you a lot of credit. This is a lot of work, and it's going to keep changing too. So thank you. And again, it isn't emotional, but I think the listening and making sure everyone, regardless, has a voice and an opinion and has the opportunity to speak has to be part of this. And Ms. Maloney, I have one question for you. When you were talking about going to the different colleges, the student teaching piece, with the pandemic kind of hopefully going away, will that create more opportunities for students to come in? And is that create a track for hiring? And maybe add, that diversity piece where we have somebody who's a great fit and we kind of have them already in the pipeline?
Yeah, it's a great point. Our student teachers often wind up being the finalists for our searches. Not always, but we do get a much longer sense of how well they can teach and what the things are that they're doing in the classroom if they've interned with us. And so it's really something I would partner with Ms. Clowder on, would be that part about the educator internship, their pre-service training, and making sure that we're not just responding to the people who seek us out, but seek out candidates from diverse programs and try to entice them to come to us. And there are some very well-established pathways to do that. We just need to, and I don't want to say just, but we just need to take some of those steps
Those opportunities,
and put them into play.
Right.
So, but at least getting our postings out there is an easy step. Like, that's the sort of proverbial low-hanging fruit where you can, you can at least make sure your postings are out there in these communities. But, there's the whole idea of affinity groups. There's so many directions you could go with the college. And right now, we're really just taking that very simple step of making sure that some public universities who have education programs in Massachusetts know that we exist and that we have opportunities available. We have openings.
Great, thank you.
That's just like the basic.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you. Dr. McKee?
So I'm the oldest one here by a long shot, and I was around before affirmative action. I was in college when it was introduced. I understood the promises that were made, the concerns that were raised, and the high hopes that it would make a difference. And we're here today with problems that look not unlike what was being addressed in the 60s. And so I think we highlight the fact, and my colleagues have all said this already, we're not talking about an implementation project here. This is as much R&D as anything else, in that we have to, if we're going to constructively look at this problem of differences in achievement, that we have to be a little skeptical about everything we propose, put in place some sort of measure, and try to objectively see if it actually makes a difference. And when it comes to success, it depends on what you measure. And we need to be sure that there isn't something behind our measures, some confounding factor that could possibly be affecting our outcomes, and we're busy on the surface looking at things. I'm concerned about terms, for example, like people of color, where we are lumping together people from Japan, China, Mexico, African Americans, and people from Africa into one particular group and whites in another group, and not recognizing diversity, not recognizing the fact that these are all very different groups that have very different socioeconomic conditions and cultures and everything else. And so I don't want to deaden our measures by using those kinds of categorizations. And, to me, the notion of a student having a teacher that looks like them and this enhancing their ability to achieve makes a great deal of sense. But if I were looking at your graphic of MCAS scores and I just had Asians and whites there, I would not come to that conclusion at all, because the level of achievement in our school system of the Asians, where there are very few Asian teachers, is vastly higher than the whites in our community, and the gap is actually larger than the gap between whites and Hispanics or blacks or African Americans. So, we need to sort of look at a lot of things, because in the end, our goal is that every individual achieves as much as they possibly can. And I am going over this race thing a little bit more, because on the one hand, I recognize it as a big problem, and on the other hand, it doesn't stand alone. There's a lot more going on there. And I hate to, in some ways, take away someone's hope by insinuating that their problem in life is their race, and that, you know, we will try to compensate for that. I feel that one of the greatest things that we can offer students is hope, something that they can do, something that we can do for them. And as I say, allow each person to look at their lives and say that they've accomplished all that they possibly can. So I'm concerned about the measures. I'm concerned about lumping races together. I'm concerned about looking at race as an issue or a problem all by itself with nothing underneath, and perhaps not looking at the underlying cultural and social economic factors that could be conspiring to decrease people's achievements.
I hear you. I think perhaps I fed your concern by using the term people of color, because I think as you look at that, that really does follow the same subgroups that are on the DESE website by design.
Yeah.
I was more thinking about the guidelines for the equity audit report that said how important it would be not to take marginalized groups and ask them to kind of share more of their thinking without being really sensitive to that. And I think one of the reasons we looked at the Panorama survey tool was to make sure that the survey tool had been vetted and was normed against a national pool, that those test questions come from survey instruments developed by experts on constructing surveys, as opposed to kind of Amy Clowder's questions that I might ask with the very best of intentions, but language that might actually be a barrier. So I think when we think about experiences, we're not just talking about how to kind of compensate, but how to remove barriers, how to increase access for kids by helping them envision that hope that you're talking about with curriculum materials that reflect who they are, and also with educators who have a broader cultural perspective and awareness about maybe that student is looking down as a measure of respect for me as a teacher, as opposed to being disengaged. I've just been really trained to think about kids that don't maintain eye contact as being disengaged. And so I think it's not any one thing, it's a combination of awareness and trusting communities. And I think if we have strong relationships, and we emphasize that a lot as aspiration for a whole host of reasons, but if we have a trusting climate in the classroom, then students, as you said, Lindsay, will tell us. They'll tell us that they're either feeling great about where they're at or not. And I do think we see kids of all races being very successful, even though we have a predominantly white female teaching population.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a tough job you got here.
Yeah. In addition to the sentiments, my colleagues, you know, I think from my perspective, I think this report, you know, certainly shows that we're moving things forward, you know, in the areas related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Appreciate the information with regards to professional development. The data-driven approach that you're taking to this, I think, is very important as well. And also, Ms. Malone, I think the approach to human resources and recruiting and the information you provided with regards to, you know, the different approach that we're taking to recruiting, you know, more diverse candidates and finding new ways to advertise jobs. I think that's really important. And this is evolving over time, right? It's not going to yield immediate results right away, but certainly, you know, a work in progress. And I think it's also important to acknowledge that, you know, our district, like many other districts, has had to handle a multitude of crises over the last 12 months. You know, when you think about the pandemic, the budget gaps, racial justice and mascot concerns, all in addition to ensuring that everyone's success is achieved. You know, I think it's important to also note that this district has been focused on the topic of diversity under the strategic plan prior to last year, back in 2018, as you noted. And the work continues, right? I think, you know, this is an update, but, you know, certainly this isn't, as Ms. Heffernan said, a one-and-done approach. You know, I think the results, again, are not going to happen overnight. And change takes time, you know, so. But I appreciate the report, and thank you very much for the efforts that you've made in this area. Dr. Sawyer, any additional comments?
Thank you. I'll be brief. I appreciate Ms. Clowder and Ms. Malone's work on the report. Certainly, I know in the context of what's happened in the past year that there are people who feel a great sense of urgency, and I absolutely respect that. I appreciate Ms. Clowder making the point that it's important to do this in a way that is planful and thoughtful, and we will continue to move forward on this. This is not something that is just in response to something. This is something that was planful before, as you mentioned, and we will continue to put our best efforts into ensuring that all of our students feel unconditionally accepted for who they are, and we maximize their ability to be successful. In the context of issues that we have, problems as a society when it comes to race and ethnicity and those issues, we have to acknowledge what those are, and we have to be able to move forward. And education, as far as I'm concerned, is the best vehicle to help ensure that that happens. And that's one of the reasons that I'm proud that our educators are rising to the occasion to do this work. And we will do that in a thoughtful way that includes the voices of the community. So we appreciate it, and there's certainly more to come in the coming months and years ahead. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is under Finance and Operations. This is regarding the Massachusetts School Building Authority Accelerated Repair Statements of Interest to replace the windows at Oak Middle School and to replace the Floral Street School roof. Both statements will require separate committee votes for each statement of interest. And here to walk us through these statements of interest is our Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations, Mr. Patrick Collins.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wensky. So before you, as you mentioned, is a request for 2 votes to submit in this annual cycle to the Mass School Building Authority under their so-called Accelerated Repair Program for school projects, primarily boilers, roofs, and windows is what this subset of projects that MSBA funds. They do this to extend the lifespan of public schools and hopefully preserve their prior investments in public school construction. This is a joint effort, of course, whereas the Public Buildings Division of the town is responsible for the maintenance and management of our school facilities along with all the other public buildings. We met with Mr. Mizikar, Mrs. Snell, the Superintendent of Public Facilities, and Keith Baldinger, the Public Building Divisions Manager, about 2 weeks or so ago, knowing that there's an impending deadline for this cycle of applications of June 1st. So it is time sensitive. And what came to the forefront in terms of potential eligibility for this program was, as you mentioned, the replacement of all of the windows at Oak Middle School. Of course, you know that that school was renovated in 2004 after opening up Shrewsbury High School. And that was also an MSBA-funded project, but at the time, the windows were not replaced as part of that project. So the windows are 41 years old. The second project is to replace the asphalt shingle roof at Floral Street School. That's original to the building when that opened in 1997. So this is a competitive program. I included some information in your packet that kind of gave some data. And just as an example, last cycle, the 2020 cycle, the Mass School Building Authority received applications which they call statements of interest that you'll be voting on tonight. They received 90 of those, and they ultimately funded 25 projects. And those numbers vary by year as included in your report. So it is a competitive process, and competitive in the sense that the worse off you are, the higher chances that you would be eligible for funding. So the process is simply that both the Board of Selectmen for the town need to vote to approve of a submission along with the school committee. The Board of Selectmen voted affirmatively last night to submit these applications. So we're asking the school committee to do the same this evening. We would submit a packet of information to the MSBA tomorrow upon your approval tonight, or contingent upon your approval tonight, and then go through the process with the MSBA. They would take likely through the month of July, early August, to review all of their applications. And then from that, they would select a smaller number to actually conduct site visits, which would probably be in the September timeframe. And then ultimately, they would make their recommendation to their board of directors in October. So we would know in October whether or not we're successful. These two projects need to be done. As I said, the windows are 41 years old, they need to be replaced. The roof is 25 years old, needs to be replaced. So why do this program? Well, if we're successful, the Mass School Building Authority would fund approximately 50% of the project cost. So it's worth the level of effort to go through this and see if we can't be successful and have a shared cost model to preserve those school facilities. So that's what I have for you this evening, and happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I know, Mr. Wensky, that you received separately from an email from me the required vote language, which needs to be used in order to submit. It is a fairly rigid process. And the actual statement of interest applications were also emailed to you, and that's a templated form that Mr. Baldinger completed and was provided for your informational purposes as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Questions or comments, colleagues? Mr. Fritz?
Well, more out of curiosity, do you know why the windows were not replaced in '04 when we did the renovation?
You know, I can't remember specifically at the time. Of course, they were 17 years younger. So I think at the time they were thought to be, you know, in serviceable condition. Okay. And it was just thought that was probably a cost-saving measure at that time, and maybe that they were just a little bit too young to include in that project cost.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, colleagues? There being none, Dr. Sawyer, any other comments?
It occurs to me that I was also 17 years younger and hopefully still serviceable.
You haven't been
but
replaced.
Neither do I recall why that was not part of that project, which occurred just before I became principal at Oak for a couple of years. But I think these are the pretty much no-brainers. If the state chooses us, we'll get 50 cents on the dollar to partner with them for these large capital required. I mean, this is maintenance that has to happen at some point. So I would advise the committee to vote to approve.
Thank you very much. Okay, colleagues, we're going to take each vote separately as mentioned. We'll start with the Oak Middle School window statement of interest. So I will move that, having convened in an open meeting on May 26, 2021, prior to the statement of interest submission closing date, the school committee of the town of Shrewsbury, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, votes to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated May 21st, 2021 for the Oak Middle School located at 45 Oak Street, Shrewsbury, Mass. 01545, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Replacement of aluminum frame awning-style windows and aluminum framed storefront windows throughout the building that are beyond their end of useful life at 41 years old, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting the statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the city, town, regional school district to filing on application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Vote number 2 will be the Floral Street School roof statement of interest. I move that, having convened in an open meeting on May 26, 2021, prior to the statement of interest submission closing date, the school committee of the town of Shrewsbury, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, votes to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated May 20th, 2021 for the Floral Street School located at 57 Floral Street Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, 01545, which describes and explains the following deficiencies in the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future replacement of 58,147 square feet of asphalt shingled roofing system, and hereby specifically acknowledges that by submitting the statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance of an approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the city, town, regional school district to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. I have a
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All of those in favor, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from our May 12th, 2021 general session. Colleagues, any revisions or corrections? There being none, they will be approved as written. And then tonight, we do need to adjourn an executive session, to executive session for the purposes of addressing Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. Purpose 7, open meeting law, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 22F, G, for the purposes of reviewing, approving, and/or releasing executive session minutes, and B, for the purpose of addressing Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect of the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Purpose 3, the Shrewsbury Education Association, Units A and/or B, the Shrewsbury Paraprofessional Association and/or the Cafeteria Workers Association, and C, for the purpose of addressing Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 21A2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Purpose 2, non-represented administrators. May I have a motion to adjourn into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Need a roll call vote is required. Mr. Palich?
Aye.
Dr. McGee?
Aye.
Ms. Heffernan?
Aye.
Ms. Fritz?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. Thank you and good night.